Live with Duke
Yeah.
Jackson. Awesome, man.
All right.
Well, hey, thanks
This is
for
gonna be. I'm excited, man.
yeah,
I'm nervous.
me too. I've been nervous all day. I've been sweating.
Have you?
So
This is our first one. First
this is the
go at
first
this.
one. We're debuting. We're both
Yeah,
debuters. Isn't that
we
exciting?
are.
Well, I
That is
wanted to
exciting.
give you a proper introduction. Just looking at your IMDb account, you've been in a bunch of movies, right? So
Yeah.
you got credits that are cool. So let me see. Let me
Yeah, they're
make sure I
cool.
get this right. I mean, you've been in a lot of stuff. So right here, it says,
Yeah.
here's your credits. You've done 139 stunts. You've been an actor in 35 episodes. You've been a director in 4. You've been an editor, camera and electrical department, writer, producer, cinematographer, and it says 1 for additional crew. So you got the quite the resume, man. And I went
Yeah.
through some of these. I didn't even realize you were in some of them.
Yeah. I know that's a lot of people don't. I don't think most of my friends and family have no idea how much I've been in or what I've done. I typically just don't talk about it that much, but I've been blessed to be in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, the other day we were watching Divergent, and
Yeah.
I was like, I wonder if Duke was in that. Any movie we watch, we're like, has Duke been in this? Has he been in
Right.
this? And your list is huge. We did watch the what was the movie you were in with Nicolas Cage recently?
Willy's Wonderland.
Yeah, we watched
Yeah.
that. And I didn't we were trying
What'd
to
you think?
guess. Yeah, oh, it was awesome. I actually liked
Yeah.
it. I think it was better than Five Nights at Freddy's for me.
I didn't see Five Nights at Freddy's, but yeah, I don't know which concept came first, but we can Willy's Wonderland was that was filmed in 2020, so it's been 4 years ago that we
Really?
did
It
that.
looks like
Yeah.
it was released pretty early. Well, Five Nights at Freddy's came first, so it was a video game, and then they turned it
Oh, right, right.
into a
Okay.
movie.
Yeah, so
But
I think they probably ripped Willy's Wonderland's probably a rip off of
yeah,
that. And
I
yeah,
think it was better though. I really do. But
yeah,
you've been
cool.
in you've been in the new Insidious movie. You've been in the new Echo Marvel movie. Well, show, right?
Hmm.
It's a show.
The TV series, yeah.
Yeah. And then Loki, which I'm super excited about that.
Oh,
Black
did you see
Adam.
my
Yeah,
you
I
see
saw
my
your
shirt,
shirt.
dude? I
Yeah,
wore
it's
that for
pretty sweet.
you, bro.
Awesome. I am so excited. Well, so yeah, so if people want to look you up and watch your videos, where can they find you? Do they just watch it on IMDb or do they go to YouTube and look at your reel?
Yeah, IMDb is the easiest place. Duke Jackson. I think I got 4 reels up there, from
Okay.
acting to driving to horse riding to stunts and stuff.
Right.
And I'm on YouTube too. You can just yeah, just Google Duke Jackson stunts or something like that, or acting. It should bring some video of me up probably.
Okay. Awesome. Well, it's time to get into it. Let's see how
All right.
I want to know how you are the person you are today, where you came from, where'd you grow up, and then what kind of led you down to this path of becoming an actor, stunt double, stuff like that.
Okay. Wow, that's a lot.
We could pick it apart as we go.
Okay. Uh, you said, like, where did I come from?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Or where'd you grow up?
Um, where I grew up. I grew up in Golden, Colorado, famous for Coors. That's kind of what put it on the map. It was an awesome little gold mining town back in the 1800s, and it's nestled right between Denver and the Rockies as you start to go up into the Rockies, and it's a beautiful spot. Great place to grow up as a kid. I was really, really fortunate to grow up in such a beautiful spot, and at that time, and in that place. So I grew up there. I was I was born into a pastor's family, so I'm a pastor's kid, or they call us a PK kid.
Mhm.
Um, uh, it was it was a great thing, and sometimes it was a very difficult thing at the same time. But it was neat to have a community around you all the time as a kid and being in church. Um, that's kind of what's neat about it is you do feel like kind of a part of this little tight community. And being a pastor's kid, uh, I guess I was kind of in the center of the spotlight more than sometimes I really wanted to be. But we'd be asked to, like, perform sometimes, little
Right.
skits and plays, and do stuff in front of the church or whatever. So I think that's where I kind of got this little itch to be a performer. Um, I mean, actually, as a pastor's kid, you're kind of performing all the time because you
Right.
kind of have this expectation that you're supposed to do things that you're supposed to, how you're supposed to act and say and be and stuff, and you don't, you don't want to bring shame to your dad or nothing, and you want to, bring pride to him in the church. So you're always in a spotlight, people are always watching, and you're always kind of performing. So I think I kind of got used to doing it, even though I didn't know it at the time that
Right.
that's what I was doing. Um, and I, even as a kid, for some reason, I always challenged myself. That there was always things that I would challenge myself to do that I was afraid of doing, that scared me. And I don't know for sure why I would do that. I guess that just comes from a part of me wanting be uh, to be brave, or to be strong, or to you know I grew up in a time where,
Part of it.
I mean, I wasn't I wasn't strong. I mean, I tried to be, I guess, but
Right.
I just had this. I think I just had this desire as a kid to be this kind of strong, masculine, macho, courageous, brave person. Like I said, my heroes were John Wayne. That's where I got.
Cool.
They called me Little
I didn't know
Duke, and
that.
then that stuck. Huh?
I said I
Oh, you
didn't
didn't
know
know
that.
that?
No.
Yeah, yeah.
You know what's funny? You
Um,
say you try to be a masculine man. You are a freaking masculine man. I mean, look at your mustache. Like you have like a very tough guy face, and like so like you fit that very well. It's
yeah.
weird that you felt you weren't masculine then. You're like a pretty masculine guy now.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, when you're a kid, and thank you for the compliment,
Yeah.
by the way. I do get a lot of bad guy roles, so
Yeah.
I guess I have a bad guy face, or I don't know. But anyways, well, when you're a kid, though, you don't know. You don't know what you're going to be like as when you grow up as a man. You don't know what you're going to be, and you're always trying to prove yourself to other kids, um, and even to your own family. I think that you're growing up, and I can handle myself. Um, so yeah, I was I was very small for my age, though. I mean, I was about average until I got into junior high,
Hmm.
which is the worst time to be small for your age. And I was probably, I know I was under 5 foot tall when I was in eighth grade, and under 100 pounds. And that was not until 10th grade when I started to grow. And so I was bullied in junior high, and
Oh, really?
I was always having to prove that I wasn't just a pushover just because I was small, and in whatever way I could. So, and then when I was even younger than that, I was chubby. So I went through a chubby stage, when I was about 8, 9, 10 years old. and I got bullied for being chubby. But I mean, I was strong too. Like my dad took me to the gym. He started me lifting weights when I was probably, I mean, 5. I don't know. I mean, we went to a little gym, so they would let the kids kind of come in and hang out with the parents. And my dad taught me how to do bench press and curls and all that kind of stuff. And I would go with him and his buddy, and they'd be doing these big weights, and I'd be over there trying to do what I could.
Right.
And I was pretty strong for my age. Kids didn't lift weights back then, so that was kind of rare. Um, and I loved the Incredible Hulk. That was my other favorite hero as a kid was the Hulk. Lou Ferrigno. I mean, that'll always be the real Hulk to me is
Right.
Lou Ferrigno. But
He was a good
yeah,
Hulk.
man, huh?
I said he was a good Hulk for sure.
Well, he was. There wasn't no there was no CGI. Let's put it that
No,
way.
it's just
He was
steroids.
the real deal. Yes,
It was the steroids and the real rage.
right. You got it, man. But yeah, dude. I don't know. I just always like challenging, scary, adventurous stuff, and I kind of was natural to performing to a point. So when I got to about college age, that kind of high school college age, I was into martial arts. I did kempo karate, and I I tried bull riding a few times, and that I almost did get killed. I think pretty close to being killed bull riding. So
How'd
I was
you
like, this
almost?
is
How
stupid.
much did you almost get killed? Did you like get?
Well,
Did you get?
so a friend of mine, what's that?
I said, did you get tied up in the rope or?
No, no, nothing that spectacular. I was having a friend film it on his little, you know, high 8 video camera back then, and I got out, got in the chute, get out, the bull starts bucking, I'm on for a few seconds, whatever, he bucks me off, and then I hit the ground, I'm face first on the ground, and it took me like a second to, you know, whoa, what's going on? And in that second, the bull had swept his horns right over my head, like inches over my head. And then his back end came around and his heels went just like, you know, millimeters over my head. And I didn't even know it. And then I was like, "Ugh," and I get up and, run to the fence and whatever until I went back and watched the video. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, that could have messed me up big time. And I didn't even know it. And I'm like, it's just too risky. It's too risky. Plus, I'm not the right build. I was about 6 foot already by that time and had put some weight on. So
Right.
bull riders are typically really wiry, guys around 150 pounds, So
Yeah, I thought I was meant for it too. You know that I bull rode for a little bit,
yeah, I
right?
remember you saying something about that. Yeah,
Yeah, I fractured my knee. I
you
fractured
did.
my well,
Oh,
so it makes a pretty much like a cross across my kneecap.
yeah.
So now I didn't bull ride like some other friends did. How I bull rode was you can't do it. Okay, watch me. I'll get on one. Plus, I was single and I wanted to impress some girls and stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
I
Oh
was
yeah.
I just wanted to try it. So I had no prior training, nothing. Made a bet with a bunch of my friends and then it was called the Bad Boys Bull Riding in Canyon at the rodeo ground. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. So I entered in, got on my first bull, got bucked off in 3 seconds, and they're like, "Told you can't do it, dude." And I was like, "Well, there's 2 more weekends, so let's go."
So
So
when
that
they say can't do it, they meant stay on 8 seconds.
yeah,
They didn't just mean go out and ride a bull.
yeah,
They
they
mean you
they
have to
they
stay
wanted
on
me,
the eight
yeah,
seconds.
8 seconds. They
Wow,
wanted me to do eight
that's
seconds.
that's that's hard, dude.
Yeah,
Really
so
hard.
3 seconds, and the guy in the chute told me that I didn't sit up on my rope. I was like kind of leaned back. I
Mhm.
didn't know what I was doing. I rode a mechanical bull. So that I was thinking of it as a mechanical bull, like whatever, get in there. And nobody
Yeah,
teaches you anything. They just want to see either
no,
get killed or just get bucked off and get the wind knocked out
right.
of you. So I had all the cowboys, just picking on me and whatever. I was like, dude, I'm gonna ride one for 8 seconds. I'm gonna do it. Next weekend comes. I last about, I think it was 6'8". Yeah, so
Wow,
6'8". So I got
that's
closer.
pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Then the
mean,
last
people have never done it. They don't know how they think
no
like, oh, 8 seconds. 8 seconds feels like
5 minutes.
minutes up there. You
Yeah.
cannot believe like you think you were on there for so long, and then you go back and watch the video, and it's like 2.3 seconds.
Yeah. And you felt
Yeah,
like you were on there for 2 minutes. But
yeah.
well, not only that, but the force of the bull when it's bucking, like you
Mhm.
wouldn't think you'd be sore the next day. I mean, just looking at it, he only lasts 2 seconds, but the force of the bull, and you can just feel the raw power of this animal.
Oh yeah, it's
It's
amazing. It's
crazy. And they're
amazing, isn't it?
snorting, they're shitting,
Yeah.
asses everywhere, and you're just on that thing trying to last. But
And the skin is like all moving around on you.
yeah, yeah,
Underneath it just feels like this still body and with this
yeah,
loose skin over it. Yeah.
right. So then so 6'8", and then this was the last weekend of the Bad Boys bull riding. And I get on the bull. This time I asked questions. I was like, tonight's the night. This is the last night to prove it to everybody. So I get in. I'm ready to go. My rope's ready. I don't even know how to explain it very well because I'm not a bull rider. But they're like, okay, sit on your rope a little more. They're like, okay, now this bull likes to twist and turn. So I was like, okay, whatever that means. We're just gonna go for it. So I remember putting my hand on the chute and I'm sitting on my rope and I nodded my head and off we went. And like I said, it felt like a lifetime. And then the buzzer goes off and I just let go because I was like, okay, it's time to let go. And
So
we
you
went.
made it to 8 seconds.
Yeah, I made it today. I have that picture
Wow.
that I showed you and it has
That's
the Rocky Mountains
impressive, dude.
in the back.
Yeah, yeah,
Remember? And then
yeah.
it launched me like it. I launched in the air, just launched in the air.
Well, because you let go, right?
Yeah, I just let go. I was like, okay, I did it. And I didn't think to do it strategically. I just let go because I was going to swing my
Yeah.
hips right over. But
Mm.
as I let go, we went to the ground. I let go and he went boom. So I launched in the air, landed on how I landed was my left foot was crooked like this. And so it shifted my knee, but I didn't feel it until I climbed over the chute. And then I landed on my well, plus you got boots and spurs on. So I went over the chute, then I jumped over, landed on my feet, and then I just felt this pulsating pain in my knee. And then my friends took me to the hospital and then cut my chaps, cut my pants, cut my boots off, everything. And then, yeah, you got a fractured knee. I was like, oh, great. That wasn't worth it.
Right. That was worth it.
And that was the last time
Hey,
I ever
man.
rode one.
Yeah. Well, it's probably a pretty smart
Yeah,
career move.
it
Yeah.
was stupid.
But hey, you did 8 seconds.
Yeah, I could
I
say I
can't say
rode bull
that. I
racing.
can't say that, man. That's impressive, dude.
I used to have a video, but I don't know. I think it was on my old phone or my old iCloud or something. I don't know. I don't know how to get it, but I would like to have it. But I have that picture. I think I showed you that picture. But
I think you did. I think you have shown me. It's
I
been
can't
it's been a
remember.
while, but yeah,
I
I
don't know.
remember it.
And so you almost
So,
broke your neck. You almost broke your neck, right?
well, yeah, I mean, something like that. If he had hit me with those horns or his back hoofs, it probably could have, I mean, at least a concussion, and who knows,
Right.
possibly what else it could have done. So, yeah. But anyways, so around that time of my life, I was really kind of searching, and you're a guy, you're a teenage boy, so your hormones are like raging, and you just want to go out and you want to do something. You want to
Right.
conquer the world. I thought about going into the military, but I had just gotten out of Christian high school, and I didn't want to go back into like a heavily rural type of environment, where people are telling me what I have to do and not do.
Right.
So I wanted to spread my wing, I wanted to spread my wings more,
Mm-hmm.
and And so I didn't know what I want to do, but I was really into martial arts, and I was getting into rock climbing a lot. Uh, I'd done bungee jumping, these sort of things were just kind of attracting me, and I loved martial art movies. I mean, man, yeah, all the Bruce Lee movies, but I mean, at the time I was coming up, it was like Jean-Claude Van Damme was the man, like
Yeah.
Bloodsport,
Yeah, Bloodsport is
kickboxing,
sweet. That's one of
and
my
all of
favorite movies.
those. Yeah, and then Jason Scott Lee did the Dragon movie where he was about Bruce. He was doing about the Bruce Lee story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Uh, and Cliffhanger was. I mean, these were like these movies that were coming out. Point Break. Point
Yeah.
Break came out like right at that time, and that was let's go to California and let's ride waves and live an adventure life and skydive and do all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, I was just wanting to do something. I was tired of being in little small town Colorado and
Mm,
the preacher's kid and with all these like expectations, and I wanted to break out. I was biting, chomping at the bit, right, basically. And not to mention as a kid, we always went to California for vacation. That was the spot. Like we went to Disneyland and Universal Studios and like the beach at Knott's Berry Farm. And so to me, that was like the magical land, like
right.
Hollywood, Los Angeles. Um, that whole thing was just magical to me. And Universal Studios, oh my gosh, dude, I loved that place when I was a kid. They had these old, stunt shows that they did, Western stunt shows, and I was a huge Jaws fan. I loved
Mhm.
Jaws when I
Yeah,
was
you're
a
kind of
kid.
psycho. You're kind of psycho, man.
So yeah, I know,
You hate
right?
sharks.
Weird. Every other kid my age saw that movie and was scared to death of the water and
Yeah,
hated sharks. I saw that movie. I wanted to become a shark catcher, is what I called it as a kid. I didn't know what that meant. All I wanted to do was go out in the ocean, swim with sharks, and get paid to do it.
right.
And there was no way doing that too much at that time. I mean, a few people here and there, but nobody was really like, you know, studying sharks. They were just like uh, trying to kill them or say how horrible they were or that
Hmm.
kind of stuff, demonize them. So, but when I was a kid, I was like, no, these animals are they're not evil. They're just animals, just trying to live. They just want to eat, and we happen to be something they might eat. you know. But I never saw them as evil or bad. I saw them as these really cool, strong, powerful, beautiful lines, creatures
Right.
in the ocean. So I wanted to. That was my passion as a kid was to go work with them. But living in Colorado is kind of hard to do that, and I was an okay student, but not like good enough to get like some big scholarship to some good marine biologist university or something. So plus my school was a Christian school. I think there was like 25 people in my graduating class. I mean, it was
Right. Yeah.
just a small nothing school. So I didn't have the means to get out there and go to school and go through all that training by the ocean that I needed to do. So I was trying to work and save money at that time. And I saw in Denver, downtown in Denver, Colorado, they were filming this low budget um, martial arts movie. And I mean, this is back in the day when they used to pump those like low budget arts movies out all the time, and they were crap pretty much. But I was so infatuated, man. I saw like right in front of me for the first time, I saw like stunts and guys
Yeah.
doing the whole fight choreography, like working it out and doing the steps. And then
Right.
the camera goes action and they go do the whole thing. And it looks so cool and so fun. And I saw them do it several times. Um, and then I saw this guy do a high fall probably 8 or 9 stories into a airbag.
Right.
Um, and man, I saw that and I was like, that is just the coolest thing ever,
Mhm.
Uh, and I mean, I sure I grew up. I watched the Fall Guy and stuff as a kid, and I thought it was cool, but I wasn't thinking stuntman when I was a kid, really.
Right.
But when I saw this in front of me, and I think I was 18 or so, something like that, maybe 18, 19, I don't know. And I saw that in front of me, like something just clicked in me. Something was just like, that is that is what I got to try and do. I just got to. It's like I didn't even have a choice. It was like it was so. Oh, I just wanted to do it so bad. Um, so from that on, I was trying to find ways to make this happen, and it was a long, long, long road from Denver, Colorado, to making it into the stunt business. It was a long road, lots of lots of rejections and lots of turn downs and lots of uh, disappointments, I guess you could say. A lot of
When
that
did
kind of
you
stuff.
when did you get your first gig? When did you like how'd you feel when you got your first gig, and what did you do to get your first gig? Were you just auditioning like crazy and then they're like, "Hey, this guy's got something," and then they threw you in, or they're like, "Ah, we just need a replacement."
It's a little stuntman joke. We just say, "How did you get into the stunt side?" I just kind of fell into it.
Yeah, well, there you go. I mean, that works perfect.
uh, so man, yeah, it was never like people think that you're just gonna like get, like people that don't know movies and stuff or Hollywood that much. They're like, oh, they just got discovered, and then it's this from one day they're nobody to the next day they're like, you know, working in the movies. But it's a lot different. It's lots of little baby steps,
Right.
along the way. For me, I went to an audition for a very small amusement park in Denver, Colorado called Elitch's Gardens,
Yeah.
and it was a rinky-dink, smallest, stupidest Western stunt show that you could imagine. In this little corner of the park, is probably seat like 20 people around it, and but I saw in the newspaper the ad for auditions for to be a stuntman, and I was like, what? So, and this was just maybe a few months after I watched the movie happen, right?
Mhm.
So, yeah, I went to audition for it, and very very first audition I went to, and my mom came with me because
Mhm.
she wanted to jump in on it. She thought it would be
Right.
fun to do stunts too, and I was like, all right, okay. I thought it's kind of my thing, but
Yeah.
okay. So she came along to the audition and they loved her. She got hired like that. And they didn't want to hire me. Like there was, I don't know, 10 people at the audition and they
Yeah.
didn't want to hire me. And I'm like, okay. So I'm walking out all dejected or whatever. And one of the guy comes running out and he goes, "Hey, no, we really liked you. It's just one guy. He's kind of the head guy didn't really want to hire you, but we talked him into it. So we're gonna hire you." It's like, "Oh, awesome, cool." So then I got hired, and they wouldn't let me train any stunts. They made me run the soundboard the whole summer, and it wasn't soundboard is really a bad analogy. It was one of those old drum machines that plug in that go
Right.
that you could play.
Yeah, yeah,
That
yeah.
was plugged into huge speakers on the side of the stage. So whenever they would throw a punch or a kick, I would sit there and hit the damn sound effects.
Oh
And
my
I remember the one for the nut shots was a breaking glass one. So I'd have to
yeah.
hit the breaking glass when the guy get kicked in the nuts. So yeah, so they wouldn't even let me on the stage. And but I wanted to learn it so bad. I was I was having all the other guys like work with me on, do the fights and learn the dialogue. And I had the one guy teach me how to do the high fall, which was, like 20 feet, from the top of the building into, um, I kid you not, it was mattresses that we
Hmm.
got from the Goodwill. And we put banana boxes underneath the mattresses and we staggered them. And we used banana boxes because they could crush at just the right amount of pressure. They weren't too hard or too soft.
Right.
And we would put a mattress on top of those cardboard banana boxes and we would jump off the top of the building into it. And that was our high fall pad.
That's
So
crazy. Did it
yeah, it
hurt at
was
all? Like when you did that, could you feel the impact?
really, it was a pretty soft landing, dude. I think this was an actual thing that this real stuntman had come up with like years ago before
Right.
like pads and stuff. And it was actually a very surprisingly soft landing.
Were you
But you still
worried
have
at
to
all?
land. What's that?
Were you worried at all because you saw the banana boxes and then the
Yeah,
mattress and you're like,
I
this is
was
what
very worried.
yeah,
Very
I can
worried. Like
imagine.
I was very scared of the fall, but I wanted to learn it so bad. Um, because there's a certain timing to it. You go head first, but you have to land. You got to rotate and land on your back, and you got to land flat. Because if you don't land flat, then you are going to mess yourself up. If you go too far and hit your feet first, you're just going to your heels, your back is going to get messed up. If you don't go far enough and you land on your neck and your shoulders, you're going to mess up your neck and your shoulders. Could break that your neck. You don't want to do that. So there's a timing. You got to just land everything as flat as possible. So I was scared learning the fall because we didn't have like stages really to
Right.
start low and go up. And man, I just used to practice it in my head over and over and over again and think about it and like, get up there and look at it and try to watch the other guys how they time it. And finally, I just did it. I had one of the guys up there help me with some spotters, and I just went
Right.
for it and did it. And it was like one of the best thrills of my life. I like loved it, man. It was so fun. I loved doing the high falls after that.
Yeah.
That was always my role when I did any of the live shows because that's how that's how I took my journey. So once I did that live show at Elitch's, uh, I uh, I met some guys and we moved to New Mexico, and we were going to try to get into the movies in New Mexico. And
Hmm.
this was like a year after that. Um, and it was, just a bunch of guys wanting to do stunts who'd done a few stunt shows. We had one bull rider and, whatever, the martial arts guy with us. And we rented a house in New Mexico because they were filming down there. This was in the year 93. So they were filming a bunch of movies and westerns in New Mexico.
Right.
And, it was just go for it kind of thing. So, we put up a high fall tower in our backyard with scaffolding, just, built it, dug a hole for the mattresses and the boxes. So we had our own high fall tower to practice on. And we just would practice doing fights. And one guy bought a book that said, I think I still have that. I have that book somewhere, but it's how to be a stuntman. And it's like about this thick. And it's like from the 80s. It's so funny. I should have found that book for you.
Oh, it's all
But
good.
we read in this book how to do fire burns. So we went and bought all the stuff to do fire burns, and we would light each other on fire in the backyard and practice that. Um, and it was a lot of fun. I didn't get any stunt work that year, but I was asked to audition for a role in like an acting role in this cowboy movie called The Cowboy Way. And
That's such a good movie.
yeah, yeah, you like that
Yeah.
movie?
Yeah, that's a
Yeah,
good movie.
yeah. It's a fun movie.
I know why
With
you don't like it so much though, huh? There's a reason.
no, I mean I liked it. I thought it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Uh, Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson. And so I get this audition to be a rodeo cowboy, where I got to
Yeah.
say these lines behind the rodeo shoots.
Yeah.
And dude, the first thing I've ever auditioned for. Well, no, I auditioned for the live stunt show for
Right.
Rinky Dink Theme Park, and I didn't get it. And then I auditioned for a speaking part in a movie with Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson, and I
Hmm.
got the part.
Yeah.
And I never auditioned. Like I just came there like as kind of me at that time, you know,
Right.
and just talked to the guys like I would to talk to my stunt buddies or rodeo buddies or whatever. And yeah, they just kept having me call back after call back after call back, and finally they're like, okay, the director likes you, and tomorrow we're going to set and we're going to do a rehearsal with Kiefer Sutherland and Woody Harrelson, because my scene was with those two guys,
Yeah.
and I'm like, ooh, okay, this is really happening.
Well, how
So I
did
get
that make you
this.
feel? Like, so when they called you back, did you like finally, did it like a huge weight was lifted off your shoulders? Did you go and like celebrate? Like,
Not really, because I was just starting out.
yeah.
Really, like this was just like this huge, like it was exciting,
Right.
but to me, it was like I remember even at that time, I'm like, this is how easy it is to get in the movies. Like, wow, okay. Um, but then when I was going to be in the scene and meet those two guys, then it was kind of like, oh wow, this is reality. This is really happening. You know, like pinch yourself kind of thing. And I got to the set and I walk up and there's Kiefer Sutherland there, and he turns over and he shakes my hand and he goes, Kiefer, nice to meet you. And you want to go like, yeah, no kidding, you're Kiefer
Yeah.
Sutherland, yeah, like you have to. It's like you have to even say your name,
Mhm.
That's what I'm thinking, as this
Right.
kid. But and the same with Woody. It was a little overwhelming at first when I'm there working, saying lines with these two guys, But I was getting through it. I think I was doing okay. But then the director comes up to me and he pulls me aside and he goes, Duke, I got some bad news. He goes, so you see, Travis Tritt wants to be in my movie, and I don't have a role for him.
Yeah.
So he's going to get your part. I'm giving him your role. And it wasn't a huge role. It was just a cameo. It was like 5, 6, 7, 8 lines. I don't know, but it wasn't. It was just this rodeo cowboys making bets behind the shoots and
Right.
stuff. And I was like, oh man, that sucks. So I thought like I was just getting ready to walk off the set. He's like, oh, whoa, whoa, no, no. He's like, he goes, first of all, you've already on contract. We own you for 3 days, so you're
Yeah.
not going anywhere. And he goes, second of all, I really like you and what you do. So I'm throwing you these few lines over here that weren't really. I don't think they were really part of the script, and
Hmm.
where it's just me and Woody Harrelson, behind the rodeo shoots, watching Kiefer do his ride and everything. So even though I missed out on the more lines, I got a real like cool scene with just me and Woody like right there together. Um, and so that was so exciting, and I got my SAG eligibility from that, which is called being Taft Hartley. And when they told me that I was going to be Taft Hartley, I thought, oh, that doesn't sound good. What is that? What's going to happen to me? But that just is some guy's name, but it means like you can join SAG.
That's cool.
So yeah, yeah. So then I spent many years, I mean, doing construction jobs or whatever after that, because I got that one big cool lucky break, and then after that it was like nothing, for you for several years, and then
Years? It took years after that?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And but
because
when it was that many years, like what, about 3 years, maybe 2 years, and you were probably still auditioning, still, right?
well, I left in Mexico, Probably like I stayed there a few more months and did some auditions and did some extra work, but I didn't get anything like really, and it wasn't going anywhere, and I was kind of running out of money, so I left and came back to Colorado. And then they weren't shooting. It was like that year, then they kind of slowed down. So then I'm in Colorado, and there's really nothing um, there to do, and so the whole time I'm thinking I got to move from Colorado. Um, so the next year, must be '94, I uh, I went out to Las Vegas for my 21st birthday. Um, and while I was out there, I went to MGM Studios, which was a theme park out there at the hotel, and
Okay.
they had a this really cool pirate stunt show at the theme park. And so I watched the show and was like, oh man, that would be so fun to work in this pirate stunt show in Las Vegas, you know?
Yeah.
Like how, oh, that would be so exciting. So I went up afterwards and I talked to the stunt guys and talked to the guy that was happened to be kind of running the show. And he said, well, you know, and I gave him my headshot too. He goes, well, you know, I'm getting ready to do a show in Taiwan, and I need stunt guys. I need, you know, young, hungry stunt guys to go to Taiwan
Hmm.
and work in this Western stunt show. And I was like, Taiwan. Well, that wasn't really the direction I was thinking, but hey, it's traveling the world, it's getting to see China and Asia, you know,
Yeah.
like I was really into martial arts at that time. So I'm thinking, oh, cool, I'll like be over in Asia. And, um, you know, this is my first time I'll just be in a totally different part of the world, my own person doing stunts. And so I drove, uh, we went back from vacation. And then at the time of the audition, me and my dad and my brother-in-law, your father-in-law,
Yeah.
Jeff, drove to California, and I auditioned for this stunt show. And I mean, I did a good job, but also the fact these guys are like, you what? You drove to
Hmm.
Colorado to audition for
Yeah.
this? And they're like, man, how can we not hire you? You know?
Right.
And so I got hired to go to Taiwan and do a Western stunt show in Taiwan at this theme park, and it was based on the old Western stunt show that they did at Universal Studios for many years. It's like three band kind of simple comedy show, and we kind of changed it around a little bit, and we went over there and did the stunt show, and yeah, they loved us. They loved cowboys over there, and they loved
Right.
tons and Westerners, and I had long blonde hair. They would always like be touching and stuff, and
I've heard that Asian people really, well, Asian culture, they really love country music and karaoke
yeah,
and like what,
yeah,
yeah, Western cowboys,
they do.
Wild
They had a
West.
bluegrass band played in the
Yeah.
park and stuff. Um, yeah, they loved it, and I loved being over there. It was cool.
Yeah.
It was in many ways it was this time in my life where I was really on my own, away from my family and from any watching eyes, you know. Um, so I went in a little crazy and kind of went off into the drinking and partying and stuff, that kind of direction. But it was a lot of stored up stuff inside of me, and anger and stuff. So um, I was uh, I was in Taiwan doing stunts with these other stunt guys, and
Mhm.
having a
Just,
ball,
yeah,
man.
just having a great
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
You could actually be yourself because you didn't have all the eyes on you. You're like, is this like, it was
right,
nice to open up and kind of find yourself through that.
right, right.
I don't
It
think that's
was, it was, it was. I mean, there's always a good side and a bad side to everything
Mhm.
that you do. And, that good side was, yeah, I was finally able to kind of open up and let free a little bit.
Right.
Um, the bad side is it started me down a road of addiction and fighting alcoholism, which I had
Right.
to come to in my life. But that's just life.
Mhm.
You just gotta take your roads and your journeys, and sometimes those roads and journeys aren't going good places, but that's still part of your journey, and
Yeah.
you just got to find your way back out again. But
Yeah.
if you don't take those roads, there's always a part of you that's always like, what would have happened if I'd done this, or if I tried this, or
Yeah.
went here and did that. There's always that part of you. Um, and I think it's better to explore than to your whole life just be like holding on to this fear of
Mhm.
of of not having really lived, of
Yeah.
regret of not having really lived, and this fear of not being able to explore and try things.
Yeah, I agree with you 100% cuz if you just stay stuck, like, well, you have to go down the journey no matter what. Just like for you, like so far with your story is you've been on adventures and adventures and you've taken risks. What would have happened if you didn't take the risk? Where would you be? What would you be doing? But you were so passionate about your career that you didn't know was going to be a career at the time. You said, "This is what I want to do. If it works out, great. If it doesn't, but I'm happy."
Hold
Right?
on one second. My
No, you're
earphones
fine.
just turned off on me for no reason.
I got you.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah.
that better
Sorry,
now?
sorry about that. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
But you just showed everyone that if you take risks and and go down that journey, that yeah, there might be some bad, there may be some good, but what would have happened if I
Right.
didn't do it? And I mean, that's the same for me moving out
Yeah.
here. We were in Colorado, stuck. We didn't know what we wanted to do, and just felt like I just got to get out of
Mhm.
here. I tried every job I could and got rejected, got rejected 6 times at my old job. Didn't know why I was qualified for it. As maybe God doesn't want me here. Maybe we're not meant to be here. We left, and our life here in Kentucky has been 1,000 times better.
Mm.
Like just life is better here.
That's
Took some
awesome.
bumpy roads, like it was scary. I almost quit. I almost went back home because I didn't like Southern people that much. I didn't get their culture. Uh, I got bullied a little bit just because I was out west and I'm down in the south, and they would tell me to wear shorts and go walk through a field and stuff. They're like, "Yeah, just go eat that field," and I'd get chigger bites everywhere,
What
and they'd
jerks, man.
laugh and ticks and like stuff I didn't do. But I did gain their respect because I always worked hard no matter what. But if I didn't take that risk to move out here, I think we would have been in a worse situation. So
Yeah.
taking risks does
Yeah.
matter and not
Yeah.
being afraid. Well, just being brave because doing things is scary.
Yes, it
But like
is. It is.
like what you just said, you just told everybody like part of your story, and your whole story is about taking risks and showing up no matter what and being the best you can do. You know.
Yeah. Um, you're exactly right, man. It's about it's about taking some risks and and stepping out on yourself, I guess you could say, where you're not in a place where the people that you could depend on your whole life, and also the people who kind of controlled you your whole life, um, aren't there to bail you out, but they're also not there to tell you no.
Hmm.
So you have to learn how to, if you do something, then you got to deal with those consequences.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I had to go through. Was I had to deal with some consequences because of what I did, and um, that's that. That's part of life. But you want to if you want to try some things, and some of those things might not be so good,
Hmm.
you will have some consequences.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's all there is to it, you know. But but then also not trying it because all these people are telling you not to is also not really living, I guess.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean? So
I agree.
yeah. So I don't know where what am I answering your questions good, or
Yeah, yeah, man.
am
You're
I
doing great.
sticking to the direction that you want
Yeah,
to
we're going
go?
perfect because
Okay.
we talked about your journey up. We're in Taiwan now. Now I want to get to you're my favorite superhero. You were Batman at a Universal studio. I want you to tell that story. So
Okay.
was
All
that
right.
like part of the Taiwan, like when you were in Asia, and then you kind of went over visit?
It's kind of, I mean, it's close. Like when I came back from Taiwan,
Yeah.
um, that's when I started doing the stunt shows in California. Not
Okay.
too long after that, so I went from I've got some money now. I'm going to go out to LA. I bought myself like a an old junky 1970 something trailer and a 77 Chevy truck, and I went out to Los Angeles, and I parked in an RV park out there with another buddy who was a stunt guy who came from Colorado, who was like, "Hey man, you got to come out here and let's try and do this." So this is um this is 95, 1995, and we're living in Northridge, California, which is where they had the big Northridge earthquake.
Right.
And I moved out there. Just a quick little side story. I moved out there um, like 6 months after the big earthquake hit. And my dad, he came out, he took the road trip with me. One of the best memories that me and my dad spend time together. But we took the road trip out there, and as we were driving closer and getting closer and closer to the RV park, there was big piles of debris on all the streets corners where
Hmm.
people just took all of their earthquake damage and just piled it up in big piles, and then the city would come and like remove them. So these piles are just getting bigger and bigger. And my dad just keeps looking over at me and keeps looking over at me, and he's like, "Are you sure you want to live out here?" And I was like, "Yeah, I want to live out here. I love it out there. It's awesome. I love California." And he's just like, "Well, they just had this huge earthquake." And I'm like, "Yeah, but now they've had it, so it's over. So what's the chances of it happening right here again?"
Yeah.
And he just takes a beat and he looks at me and he goes, "You have heard of aftershocks, haven't you?"
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "Oh, yeah, I didn't really think about that." So that night, we're in my trailer. We got set up and we're sleeping in the trailer. And that night, it felt like four huge guys were on each end of my trailer, just going, rocking it like, as hard as they could. And me and my dad woke up out of sound sleep, and it is the trailer's going like this.
Uh-huh.
And finally, it kind of settles down, and I'm looking at him, he looks at me, and I go, "Aftershocks?" And he's like, "Yep." And he's like, "You still want to stay here?" I'm like, "I do." And so he went on back and left me there, and I stayed there, and I tried my hardest to, get into stunts, and it was very, very hard. Like there was no internet back then, and
Hmm.
nobody wants to tell you how to do it. And uh, there's like all these little groups coming up there around there saying, "We're stunt people. Come train with us. We'll teach you how to be a stunt guy." And
Yeah.
most of them are nobody groups that are like they don't even know what they're doing.
Right.
Um, and I mean, we got involved with a group like that once, and they they got the permission to do a live show at the Pasadena Arts College at the graduation, and this is a place where a lot of directors come out of.
Okay.
So they're like, "Oh, cool! This is a great chance to show our stuff in front of future directors. And so we go there to prepare the stunt show and get some fight scenes worked out. And then this one guy who's the leader, he wants to he wanted to blow up a shack in front of all these people because he thought that would impress them. So he has this welded together like metal box, and he digs a hole in the ground, and he built has this built a shack around it. And it's not, and he's got like 2x4s and 16 penny nails. And me and my buddy are building this, and we're looking at each other, and we're like, "This is going to blow up because this is going to be really dangerous." But
Yeah.
I guess he knows what he's doing. He's a stunt guy, whatever.
Yeah.
So we build this shack, and basically the guy had gotten his hands on a bunch of black powder and knew how to pack it, and some gasoline to make the flame effects and whatever. And he's riding it on a horse, and he jumps off the horse because the guys are after him, to shoot and kill him. Runs into the shack. Shack door closes. In like 15 seconds, it's supposed to just explode, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'm like, cool, all right, this is gonna be fun. But me and two friends that were really good friends, and we all made this plan. We're like, we got to park in a place that we can like leave the scene really fast. And when they get ready to do this part, we need to be like where we can get to our car, because if something's wrong, goes wrong, we need to not be connected to this at
Right.
all. Like we need to
Right.
be long gone, right? So we did our fight scene. I broke my rib because this guy like side kicked me so hard in my rib. Oh man! And then we decided to stick around for this explosion, and we're hiding behind this building, kind of around the corner watching it. And there's like people that are like, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 feet from this thing. They're not very far. And I started like telling people that I saw, I'm like, you don't want to stand this close. You really, no, don't. You want to get back. And they're like, yeah, whatever. I'm like, no. So we get behind the corner of the building, and it's a glass building with like these mirrors, windows, and that thing goes boom, boom, and like all the glass windows are doing this and stuff.
Oh my
And
God.
and I ducked behind the building, and I'm watching like the crowd of people, and there's debris flying over the tops of the people. And I'm just thinking to myself, oh, that stuff is like 16 penny inch nails and 2x4s. And oh my, I'm like, luckily, I don't know how, nobody got like seriously hurt. I think some people got some scratches or whatever. But I know, and then the guy that went in there, oh man, he was messed up so bad because he's just in this little box. So the concussion, it still gets you, even though nothing else does. And he came out and he couldn't walk. So me and we're like, okay, that's it. Don't train with these people anymore.
Yeah.
Don't connect to them, and I'll get away from them. But you meet those kind of people out there. There's tons of them. So we had to learn the game. We had to learn who to train with, and I learned how to do this technique, which is called hustling. And it's a complicated thing where you get information about movie sets, where they're filming, and then you have to go and you got to get the information on who the coordinator is, and then you have to get what's a Thomas Guide map, and find out where in this whole big city they're filming, and then you take all the time to drive out there, and sometimes nobody's there, sometimes
Right.
the guy you want to meet's not there. It's just was a really time consuming, difficult way to do it back then. But we tried. We did. We spent that whole summer, man, doing every audition, learning how to hustle, training with people, and we I ended up we just couldn't even afford the rent at the RV park. I mean, because it gets so expensive, and we weren't getting any money. So we found a vacant lot because in the middle of the valley, found this vacant lot that this guy would let us park our trailers on,
Uh-huh.
because we started working for him as a maintenance in the apartment building next door. So we were living on a vacant lot in the middle of Los Angeles, and we had to connect hoses to the street, the street water in the
Yeah.
street, and that's how we got our water. And we
Oh my.
would sneak off of the neighbor's power supply. We'd sneak extension cords to power. But we lived like that for a few months, and then my buddy had a generator, so we buy him gas, and we spent all our money on beer, and like we we would buy beer even over toilet paper if we needed it, because we
Oh,
figured I could use an old sock for
yeah.
that.
Yeah, just
So
just push, pinch, clean. You're good. That's it.
yeah, right.
Here. So the
uh,
more you describe your story, the more I'm happy I never wanted to be a stunt man or grind. That sounds hard, but that's what makes your story super cool because I mean all your credits on here. I mean it's awesome.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of
it was there was a lot of back work that went
yeah.
into those credits, and I finally had to move from that RV park to the other. I just ran out of money,
Hmm.
and uh, I was like, I felt like I was not getting anywhere in LA, so I decided to go back to California. I remember the deciding night was we were all sitting around in lawn chairs with the lights on from my buddy's generator, and listening to this radio show called The Love Line that was like really popular back then. And we're listening, and all of a sudden he runs out of gas, and all the power just goes. Boom. And I like look over to grab my beer, and I'm out of beer, and I just looked at my buddy. I'm like, you know what? I'm done. I'm out. I'm
Hmm.
going back to Colorado.
I don't blame you.
And the next day I got up and left, and then I kind of thought, oh, that's it for stunts, right? And then the guy that I worked for in Taiwan got a show in Denver, Colorado at the theme park, and he wanted me to come work for him because I wasn't planning on like doing it anymore. So it's almost like you do all this stuff, you work hard, you make all these sacrifices, you do all this stuff, and then nothing
Yeah.
happens, and you get all discouraged, and you're like, "That's it, all right, it's not meant to be." And I would start down another direction, and then all of a sudden, the guy that I used to work for just gets a job down the street and wants me to come work for him and paying me more than I was getting doing construction. So I'm like, okay, yeah, why not? Sure, let's do this. So I went and did a stunt show in Colorado in '96 again. And while I'm at uh, the show is over and we're sitting there, cleaning up our props on the set. And these three guys just kind of step over the crossing between the area, and just walks up on the set towards us. And we kind of all look at each other like, what are they doing, right? And I was like, hey guys, sorry, this is a set. You're liable. We can't let you guys come up here.
Right.
And they're like, whoa, 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 no, wait, hold on a second, guys. We're gonna film a movie here, and we're gonna use this set, and we think you guys are perfect. Do you guys want to be in our movie? And like this is like, no, this doesn't happen. All right,
Right.
nobody. No, I was in Hollywood. I was hustling sets. I mean, nobody just comes up to you and says, "Hey, we're gonna make a movie. You guys would be perfect. Do you want to be in
Yeah.
our movie?" And we just all look at each other and we're like, "Sure, yeah, let's
Yeah.
be in your movie." They're
Right.
like, they're like, "Okay, great. We'll be in touch. We're gonna be back in a couple of months to film this." And we're like, "Sure, yeah. Well,
Did
never
they
see
even
each
have
other
a
again."
business card or anything? They're just like, we'll be back.
I don't remember. I think they might have given us a card. I don't remember. But anyways, it ended up being a real deal. And they came back and they shot the movie Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain. And they
Uh-huh.
needed a theme park because the terrorists take over it. So our
Right.
theme park was the theme park they used in the movie. And they saw us doing our stunt show and decided to put our stunt show in the movie because it would just go so well with the
Right.
theme. So it was a real thing, and they came back and they actually uh, hired me to basically do what I was doing in my stunt show, but on camera, and get paid a lot more money for it, and do the fight, do the high fall scene. And then even after we did that scene, they brought us back to do other stunt work where they changed us and put us in wigs and dressed us up differently.
Right.
And man, to me, I was like, this is a miracle. Like nobody just comes and asks you to be in a movie because I was already done. I thought I wasn't going to do stunts, and then back to back, these two things just like sucked me back in big time. And it
Yeah,
was
it
the first
shows on
time.
here in
What's that?
1998, Three Ninjas High Noon at Mega Mountain on your
Yeah,
IMDb. I thought I saw it. I just
yeah,
wanted to make sure. 1998.
yep.
That's crazy.
98 is when it came out, but they
Yeah.
shot it in 96
Oh
because
wow.
it took a lot
Wow.
longer to make movies back then. But it was 96 is when they actually shot that movie.
And it says,
But
yeah, you're stunt cowboy.
Stunt Cowboy, yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. That's so cool though.
Yeah. Yeah, man. It, and from there, I was like, well, okay, I'm going to do stunts again now. Look at
Yeah.
this. And then I got another credit because another movie came into town, and I was getting all excited now. And so, um, uh, but I still like to do the live shows. And a buddy of mine had gone and done this live show in Japan, and
Hmm.
he just said how awesome Japan was because I was with him in Taiwan, and then he went and did this other show that paid a lot more money, bigger scale in Japan, and he
Right.
was just saying how awesome it was. So I really wanted to do that live show too. So I went and auditioned for it a couple of times, I believe, but I didn't get it. And then I was living in Colorado at the time, and I heard when the auditions are going to go. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go there. This was in the middle of the winter time, and we were living way down south in Canyon City at that time. And so I drove up to go to the audition, and actually, no, that was before Canyon City. Never mind that part. But anyways, I drove to the audition or to the airport. Sorry, to get on the airplane, and there was a really bad blizzard that came in, and they snowed. All the flights got canceled.
Right.
They were snowed in, and
Typical.
so I was like, okay, I guess not. I guess it's not meant to be. And they were letting some flights leave a little bit later, but they were pushing people back, and I was not high enough on the list to make it on the next flight, right? So I wouldn't have been able to get out there until the audition was over. So I was like, that's it. Okay, not going to happen. We're walking out of the airport, and my dad turns to me and he goes, for no reason at all, he goes, well, why don't you just walk over there to that desk and just ask them one more time if they got a place on the plane. And I literally just hung up the payphone talking to the lady saying that no. And I go, well, Dad, I just hung up. There's no spots. He goes, well, just ask them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, okay. But I had at this point, I had surrendered it as to not happening. I basically was all excited and then disappointed. And then I finally was like, all right, God, I guess this is very clearly not supposed to be my path. I accept
Right.
that. And as soon as that happened, I walk over to the gate or to the counter, and I say, hey, you got any seats left on this flight coming up? And she looks on and she goes, oh, I'm sorry. We only have one seat left on the flight. And I go, well, that's all I need, one seat.
Yeah.
And she goes,
Right.
oh, I thought you two were together, me and my dad. And I go, oh no, he's not going. He's just dropping off. He's staying here. And she's like, oh, you need one seat? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, you just made it. You're the last person to get on the flight. You just barely made it.
Wow.
I was like, what? She's like, yeah, you better run. I
That's
was like, oh,
amazing.
okay. So I'm like, wow, okay. And as soon as that happened, I knew I was going to get the part. I knew I was going to get
Yeah.
the audition. It was like, there was no question. It was like when I was flying out there, I was just sitting in the airplane and looking out the window, just feeling all excited and
Yeah.
happy because I'm like, there's no way that would be the last one in that circumstance if this wasn't meant to happen. So I went in with that confidence, right?
Hmm.
That it was going to happen. And I got hired, got the part, went over to Japan, and I spent almost a year over there. And what I mean, we could do a whole podcast on Japan, just
Yeah, I bet.
what it was like to live in that country, dude, and experience those people. And I mean, just one of the best experiences of my life. I learned so much over there and from those people. Um, my wife's Japanese, so
Yeah.
obviously, it impacted me a lot. But yeah, so I spent I spent almost a year in Japan, and then I met my wife. She wasn't we weren't married, but I met the woman who
Mhm.
became my wife over there. And I came back and had all this money in my pocket now because they paid really good. This live stunt show in Japan. I was at that time it was a lot of money. Now it doesn't sound like that much, but I was making like $70,000 a year. That was my
Wow.
annual, like
And
70,
that was
$75,000 a
when
year.
was that? Like what year was that?
So that was in 97.
So that was really
97.
good. That was like
Really good.
that's
And
amazing.
I was 24 years old, right? 24,
Right.
25 years
Yeah,
old. Like that
that's
was a ton of money.
yeah.
So
And you when
I
you were
came,
there, you did a bunch of different shows, right?
I
You
ended
did
up
like
doing two different shows over there because Universal Studios came over later, and I
okay.
ended up working for Universal Studios.
And
But
you were Batman, right? You did a Batman one,
oh
then did
man, I'm
you
sorry, I haven't gotten to the back.
Oh, no,
I'm way
you're fine.
behind, dude.
You
I'm
know, you're
sorry.
fine. You're good.
No, that was not Batman. I
It was
played
a
a
Bat
Viking, uh, like a
Hey, they both got horns, right?
they both have horns, right?
That's
Yeah.
close enough. Okay.
And yeah, and I wore a fur cape, not a bat cape.
Oh,
But
see, we're kind of similar. It's okay.
no, that was a Viking stunt show.
Okay.
They brought a bunch of Americans, and I was a little one, big Americans, to play Vikings, and we
Okay.
would we would battle off with these Japanese fishermen because they found our ice cube or iceberg and the ship melted when they took a picture, and now the Vikings are loose. It
Right.
was it was fun. It was silly, but it was fun. It was a good show. But they paid really good money. So I
Yeah.
came back with a lot of money, and I went back to LA this time with some money and some connections because I had met some people that were doing okay in the stunt business at the Viking show because it attracted that quality of people, to do it. So I had some connections, and I started auditioning, and I auditioned um, for the Six Flags Magic Mountain Batman show.
Okay.
At that time, it was the Batman and Robin show, based on the movie Batman and Robin. So I got the show, got the part, and I played Batman,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and it was the worst, hardest, terriblest show I ever did. It was. I mean, it was a fun show. It could be fun. So many gags in that show. I mean, we were
Yeah.
doing this is a live show, and we were doing stair falls and car slides and motorcycle jumps. This is all on concrete and
Oh
steel,
my gosh.
and slide for lives and rappels and high falls and explosions. And it was it was done at a theater that was in Valencia, California, where it would get 120 degrees in the summertime. And I mean, the sun would hit that set because they protected the audience, but they didn't protect the performers from the sun.
Yeah.
And it would get like 100 and I remember they had a thermometer. It would get like 130 and 40 degrees on that set. And you're trying to run around in a full Batman costume. And it was like movie quality Batman
Right.
costume, like thick rubber and heavy. Not only that, you had to wear uh, three costumes on top of your Batman costume because you had these quick changes where you come out as a security guard and then a police officer and then Bane, and then he did a quick change into Batman. So you had layers,
Oh my
and
god.
you would do 5 shows in this. And I mean, I was 25 at the time, and it
Right.
almost killed me, dude. I mean,
Was
it
it worth
just
the was it
literally
worth the money though? At least was it like, "Oh, yeah,
no,
at least I'm getting uh
no. I
I
mean,
can only I can only imagine.
yeah, it was rough. I went down from severe dehydration several times that summer and had to go to the emergency room because of body cramps that got so excruciating. I could collapse on the ground and I couldn't move a muscle because it would cramp. And so they'd
Oh
have
my
to take
god.
me to the hospital, put IVs in me and stuff because it was you just lost that much fluid. And I mean, no matter how much I drank, I mean, I sweat more than normal people, I guess, but I could drink nonstop between shows, and
Uh-huh.
I would still be cramping
That's
afterwards.
crazy. And you're doing
So,
electrolytes and everything.
electrolytes, salt tablets, whatever, man. But I I did that show until I broke my neck doing that show, and that's what stopped me from it because I fell from near 20 feet hanging upside down and fell out of this thing that's called a ankle harness. And I fell down and I bounced off part of the stage, and then I went down to the cement concrete and broke my neck and messed myself up pretty good on that
Oh
one.
my
But
god. As
uh,
Batman. As
as
best.
Batman,
So you were
and
just
so all
hanging.
these kids are watching, and there goes Batman. Poke, Mommy, what happened to Batman? He's not
Yeah.
moving anymore.
Oh my god.
And they bring out a dark sheet, a black sheet, and they cover you so the audience can't see. You know why they lay you're laying there and they're calling the ambulance and it was my my wife who wasn't married yet, my Japanese girlfriend came over to visit me, and that was the first time she came to watch me do the show. So that happened at that time too, and she English was like not so great, and she's up there and she's like expecting her Batman to like get up and they bring the show. They bring the sheet, they close it, they start shipping everybody out, telling people to leave, and she's just like, what do I do? What do I do? Right?
Yeah.
So, I was more worried about her than me. I was telling everybody, I'm like, you got to go find her and tell her I'm okay, and bring her back here. She's gonna freak out. She's not gonna know what's going on. So, but that was my end of
Batman.
no, it was not my end of Batman actually, but that was my end of Batman at that time,
I got
and
you.
then and that was in '99. That was in '99 when that happened. So I was still in the live show business. I was not into movies yet, really. I'd done a few things here and there, but I was not really making a living by any means doing
Right.
TV and movies. So it took uh, it took another coming back from that injury because I thought I was done. I didn't
Hmm.
think I just thought, oh, that's it, and I wasn't paralyzed, and I thank God for that because I wouldn't know what to do with myself if that happened. So um, thank God for that. But it did make me think a lot about how I'm not actually invincible,
Right.
and
Not even as
um,
Batman.
not even as Batman. Yeah, and then so I didn't even know if I wanted to do stunts anymore after that. Actually, to be honest, I was a really difficult time in my life. I was really struggling with some addictions at that point in my life,
Right.
and also, and I think maybe that's part of the reason that it happened. You know, sometimes God's got to get a hold of you and break you up, break your neck even to get your
Yeah.
attention. But that's way better than the alternative of losing your whole life to these crap, these
Right.
addictions. Um, anyways, that was difficult time. I didn't know if I was getting back into it. I got a call to go back to Japan, which I again wasn't expecting, because they usually do auditions and the whole thing again, and you got to go through all that. And I guess somebody got injured, something happened, and they just called me up and said, "Hey, you want to come back?" And I was peeled up at the time, so I went back and I got back into two stunts again in Japan, and it was great because I got to spend more time with my wife to be at the time, and we could know each other more, and then I really got more into the Japanese culture because the first time I was there, I was just young and dumb again and doing partying and stuff, and I missed a lot of the real good things about Japan. So um, going back this time, I really learned more language, and I learned more culture, and learned more what to appreciate over there, and even studied their way of thinking and philosophies on life, and um, it really impacted me a lot. So I'm glad I went back. Got to go back and do that. Um, and so then I made another um, decision after that was over in about 2003. I did that live show. Well, actually, not that one. Then I went to Universal Studios Japan because they opened a brand new park over there, and
Okay.
so I got to go work at Universal Studios Japan. Just that was so fun. That was awesome. That was a great time doing Wild West shows and stuff. Um, and so I'd made some money and I'd been away from my family a long time. So I thought, I'm 30. At that time, I'm like 30, I think, 30 years
Hmm.
old. And I'm like, I'm 30 years old. I'm going to be an old man now. I shouldn't be doing this stunt stuff anymore. This is, silly. And I'm going to go back and make a real living doing something. And I went back to Colorado, and that's when I bought the trail mix company, the Mountain Man Nut and
The
Fruit
Mountain
Company,
Man. Yeah.
the Mountain Man. Did that for 3 years. And I'm so thankful for it, but it just wasn't for me.
Right.
It just wasn't my thing, and I realized that pretty early on, and I was kind of for a couple of years I had to just get it through it and do it, man. And
Yeah. I
and
I was talking to my mom about it, and then
yeah,
she's like, "You know what's crazy?" And I said, "Well, what's that?" She's like, "That your wife, okay, like you didn't even know, but Duke would come in all the time, super nice guy. We knew Iami because she did massages and was like, wasn't she a
yeah,
personal trainer, massages and stuff?"
yeah, yeah.
And my mom and Iami would talk all the time. You'd come in, bring the mountain man stuff, and then she's like, he worked so hard, and like I'm so happy that he got to where he needed to be. You and Iami both. I mean, she's like they worked very hard. They're very kind people.
Mm,
They were passionate about it, and every time he would come in there and bring us mountain man stuff or whatever, try to sell something, that you were super kind and awesome, and
mm.
just it's awesome to touch base on that. And I didn't even know
Oh,
you, and I didn't know Hannah, I didn't know anybody, and it's just kind of weird
yeah,
all those years ago, and now we're talking about it today.
I know,
It's
man. You
crazy.
never know the crazy way
Yeah,
life takes you
yeah.
down so many different cool paths.
My mom
But
did say like Iami when Iami gave my mom a massage one time. She's like, that lady's thumbs and elbows, she almost killed me. I was like, I know you should have seen her with that rock on my calf. That little thing she did. God, that sucks so bad.
dude, I try to tell. I mean, she does Japanese shiatsu deep tissue massage, and
Yeah.
it is deep tissue. And
Oh yeah.
wow, yeah, some people love it, but even me, even I'm like, she's like, you want me to give you a massage? I'm like, oh, I'm okay, I'm good. I'll just
I
I'll use the
know.
massage gun here. I'm good. Yeah. I'm gonna
My
hold on
calf.
1 second.
No, you're fine.
I had the heater on and it was getting pretty warm in here.
Oh no,
So
you're good. You're good. No, my calf. Like, cause I was squealing, you saw me squeal. And I was just like, my left calf, because that's the only one she did, because I had problems with that's the leg I fractured. And
yeah,
then she she did that rock, and like my left leg was numb for like 3 days. and I felt it. I was like, never again. I was like, it's such a kind gesture, but I'm good. I don't need that anymore. But not to get it off
Oh
topic, but
man. Yeah.
so okay, so you're doing Mountain Man. You're thinking like, I don't know, you did Mountain Man for 3 years, and then you said it's not for
Uh-huh.
you. So
And, yeah.
so let's speed it up a little forward. So what was your first big break into a very big successful franchise, or just a big movie for you? The biggest movie you got to you at the time, I
Hmm.
guess.
To me at the time, okay. That's that's of course changes as as you go through time, and as you work on stuff. But you know, when I had come back to doing stunts and moved back to California after Mountain Man,
Okay.
after I sold that, I went to film school for 2 years and
Oh man, we skipped a
decided
bunch. My bad. I didn't mean to skip that
no,
much.
no, no, that's okay. It's not that important. It's
Okay.
not that important. It's not. But I did. I went to film school for 2 years because I didn't think I'd do stunts anymore.
Okay.
So I learned directing. I learned editing. I learned camera. I learned lighting. Um, I learned behind the camera stuff because I thought I still want to be part of this business. I want to be creative. Um, Stunts is probably not a reality, a realistic possibility really anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm doing this. So I went and learned that stuff, and I couldn't get work to save my life in Colorado. So we go. My wife, she's like, "Let's move to California," and I go, "Oh no, no, no! You don't
You're
know how
thinking of
hard
the
it is."
aftershocks.
No, I was thinking of uh, how expensive it is, how
Yeah.
crowded it is, how pollution, like how competitive, like everything. Dude. I remember how hard it was to get by out there. I had 35 parking tickets in 1 year one time because you just don't. There's nowhere to park, even in front of your own apartment building, and you get busy. You forget about what day they're doing what sweeping, and oh man, there's a whole there's a whole story about cat poop and parking tickets. I should tell you sometime, but um, anyways, I I I said no. I don't want to go back to California. That it's just too hard.
Yeah.
I'm like I think I'm like 33 years old at this point, and I'm like I'm too old to go through that again. I was in my young 20s, and she's like what too old? What? You're 33. Shut up.
Mhm.
We're going to California. And so like, okay, so we head up, go out there, and two cars. We just filled up two cars of junk and went out there and jumped around at different people's friends' houses, well, not houses, apartments, staying in
Mhm.
their apartments for a while until we could find a really, really cheap studio apartment in not a great part of town, kind of close to Koreatown area. And in fact, the second night we were there, we were in the seventh floor because we wanted to have the view, and we're up there cooking dinner, and all of a sudden I hear a helicopter searchlights coming in our window, and I'm like, "What is going on?" So I go look out the window, and just the block the street over from us, I counted it must have been like 17 cop cars that were just
Oh,
blocking it off, and the helicopter is shining its light on the top of the roof of this apartment building that's right next to us. And he just went on, and I remember my wife. I'm like, "Wow, this is better than watching TV. This is cool. Like, we have our own crime show like live in front of us, you
yeah.
know." But I mean, that was the area we lived in. Like, we came home one time with a blood trail out of the elevator out to the front of the sidewalk, and
Oh my.
found found out that they got in the wife and husband got in a fight, and she stabbed him, and he just started walking down the street for some reason after being stabbed.
He's like, I gotta go take a walk. It's
I gotta
so much.
walk this off. No, I'm gonna walk it off.
Yeah.
All right. So yeah, it was a crazy place, man. Crazy, crazy place. drug dealers, prostitution was happening in that building. I'm sure they were making meth, you name it. But anyways, I got back into the live shows again because I tried to do directing, photography, camera, and I had no contacts, no real experience, and um, I was like couldn't find paying work, so I was doing like non-union extra work, which is the bottom of the totem pole. You're
Right.
like making $60 a day, and you're being treated like poop because that's what these people in the business see you as. You are basically a piece of furniture and shut up and don't, ask
Right.
questions and stay out of my way.
Just do your job
So,
and be quiet.
right, exactly. So, I went from that. I'm like, you know what? I'd rather do live stunt shows than this crap, right?
Yeah.
So, um, I started calling up some friends and saying, hey, anything? And I got an audition to the pirate show, got it. Then I went to, they said, hey, Knott's Berry Farm is auditioning next door. So I went and did the Knott's Berry Farm stunt shows. Now I've got the Pirates stunt show, the Knott's Berry Farm stunt show. And then Universal was hiring for the Waterworld stunt show. And Waterworld was one of the shows that I wanted to do more than anything.
Hmm.
Even being in a movie at that time, because what it represented to me was it was like the top echelon live stunt show.
Right.
The best guys worked in that show, and they did the best stunts. And it was at Universal Studios, which is movie land, and you're in front of 3,000 people, and
Hmm.
you're doing this stuff and doing a. They did a we I did a fire burn from 50 feet into the water. We would do that 5 times a day, sometimes more.
Oh my
And
goodness.
these are big. They're big stunts that you don't even do on movie sets hardly ever. And if you
Yeah.
did, you get paid a lot of money, thousands and
Right.
thousands of dollars. And I was getting, you know, $56 a show, to
Oh.
do this. But but yeah, I wanted to do Universal Studios, and I had auditioned for it probably 4 or 5 times through the years and never got it. And so, but you know what? When I was in Canyon City, Pueblo, Colorado, I
Hmm.
bought myself a stand-up jet ski because somewhere deep inside of me, I was like, because that's why I never passed the audition in the past. I couldn't ride a jet ski, never had ridden one. And we're talking stand-up,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
takes some skill to ride. And so uh, I bought one, and we used to go out on the Pueblo Reservoir, me and my
Right.
wife, and I got pretty good on it. And so I always thinking in my head, man, if I ever go back to do that Waterworld stunt show, I'm not, I'm going to make it past this time because I know how to ride a jet ski.
Yeah.
And so the Waterworld stunt show, the audition came up, and I went to it, and I did. I mean, I did awesome. I did good, and I thought for sure I was going to get the part. So I waited and waited and waited and didn't hear anything. And pretty soon, like I hear from other guys that they're getting ready to start training in like 2 days or something, and they've made all their calls, and I'm like, what? How can this be?
Yeah.
Like, I know I did better on the jet ski than the other guys the audition. I know my fights were good. I've always been confident about my fights. I could do the falls and everything. That was no problem. The acting, I did good. I was playing the Kevin Costner role. I'm like, I even halfway look like Kevin Costner. I'm like, why would
Mhm.
what? I don't get it.
Yeah.
And turns out the guys that run the show, they're also in the show business. They're in the movie stunt business. So there's another network where they want to hire guys in the movie business that it's going to pay them off, and they might hire them to do some movie job show. Do you see what I'm saying?
Hmm.
So
No,
it's
I got
like
you.
this scratch your back, my back.
Right.
So they went with another guy who was this big, great, good looking stunt guy that had a lot of movie credits. And I didn't have really any movie credits. And so I'm like, okay, I can see why they go with him maybe physically, but I know I did way better. He didn't jet ski very good at all. Like it's going to be hard to train him in the amount of time that they have. But they hired him. I'm like, okay, well, that must be it, you know. Well, he was in the movie business so good that he got a job on Star Trek to work for like 2 or 3 weeks. So he couldn't do the training.
Yeah.
So the day before the training is supposed to start, and mindless, mind you, they've called everybody like a couple weeks ago by now. Like they don't, they give people, time. The day before, they call me up and they're like, "Hey, Duke, you still want to do Waterworld?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah,
Yeah.
of course I do." And they're like, "Okay, well, the spot just opened up." So that was one of the most exciting
Wow.
ones to me
Yeah.
because I wanted to do that show and I wanted to work at Universal Studios so badly. I know a lot of people think like that's just a live show, but it was a big thing to me, and that was one of them that was really exciting. And then I got hired to work at Disneyland to do the Fantasmic show. So working at the two places that when I was a kid, I loved to go to
Yeah.
imagine and dream and fantasize and have fun and adventure. And now these are where I'm working at every day. That was really that was really cool. That
I
was
bet
really
it
fun.
was. I bet it
Really fun
was. That's
time.
amazing. That's an
Yeah.
amazing story. It really is.
Yeah.
It's awesome. It's like
Thank you.
when I went to, because last year we went to Disney World. I was like, I can do this. I'd
Yeah.
be a
Yeah.
stormtrooper. I'd be
Yeah.
awesome. I'd
Yeah.
talk
Right.
trash to little kids that with little lightsabers and stuff. It is a
Heck
magical
yeah,
place,
dude.
man.
Heck yeah. And you got great benefits, dude. Working at
Yeah.
Disney is good benefits,
I
man.
know. I've
Yeah.
told Hannah, I was like, I kind of want to go to Florida. I was like, I kind of want to be a stormtrooper, man. I was like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, I don't care if I get paid like crap. I'm a stormtrooper.
until until after about a couple weeks into it and it's 120 degrees with 100 degrees
Yeah.
humidity and you're walking around and 10 little kids have kicked you in the shins by now, then you'll be like, screw this stormtrooper. Screw
Yeah,
you, Disney.
I
Yeah.
could imagine. I mean,
No.
were you nervous performing on that big stage and Shamu's the main attraction? You know what I mean? You're like, I gotta compete with Shamu. I gotta like really be dialed in here.
I was not in a show with Shamu.
Well,
Did not
he's on
perform
the next set,
with
right? He's just
Shamu.
swimming in his big tank. You're like, I gotta
Well,
draw
that
the
was
attention to
SeaWorld.
me.
SeaWorld is a whole nother
SeaWorld.
park. Yeah.
Oh, well,
But good effort. Yes.
a good effort.
Good effort.
A for
No,
effort.
it was fun. It was exciting. I did get nervous sometimes. Yeah, I did get nervous for sure. The first show that I did, it was horrible. My jet ski died in the middle of the show. So the
Oh,
hero has a jet ski that's dead, and you're
uh-huh.
going 3,000 people looking at you. Oh, come on. And you have to push it away and you have to swim to the edge, you know, with 3,000 people watching you in a full costume and shoes and climb out. And you got to go the alternate sequence and you got to figure out, okay, what's the alternate sequence? And you screw that all up and you come out the wrong place and they're looking for me on the set and I popped up like at the wrong place in the stage. And the whole show just like went to crap, like
Yeah,
so bad. And but that was my debut, my first
right.
show, it happens and it sucked, but I did better the next time and the next time and the next time. And you just keep doing it and practicing and training and that's what I did. I just kept training a lot between shows and I kept hustling and then I got an audition for CSI New York, and that was a big one. Like
Yeah.
those auditions didn't come around very often, and I had met enough people and got on enough radar that they asked me to audition for this kind of stunt acting role on CSI New York. And yeah, man, I went and did this audition. I was competing against this guy who was a little older with a whole lot more credits than me. and I didn't think that he was buddies with the coordinator. I didn't think I had the job,
Yeah.
and I went to leave, and 10 minutes later, the director or the coordinator calls me and said, "Hey, the director really liked you. You got the job." It's like,
Oh man.
what? So that was a big one because that was a little bit of acting,
Right.
and I had to get hit by a semi truck. That was my stunt. A flat semi truck front thing had to like be walking across the road and it glance me, and knock me
Right.
off the side of the road. Not full on, fly on the windshield kind of thing, but it
Oh.
was a glancing blow. And I was nervous about that because I didn't want to get ran over, and
Yeah.
I also didn't want to screw up and look bad. So, but it went good. It was cool. They put me in a mold where I had to sit for about an hour, and I couldn't move a muscle, and I had to breathe through a straw as they shaped my face because they made a fake head
Right.
to put on a dummy version of me because I don't know if you remember the show, but there's always some idiot that dies,
Yeah.
and then they gotta figure out why and how he died and solve the crime of his death.
Right.
I was that idiot that died. So I had I had taken too much ecstasy, and or it made me so thirsty I
Uh-huh.
drank myself to death. That was how I died.
How do you
Well, no,
audition for that though? Like do you go in a room and then they're like, all right,
that's
this
exactly,
this
yep,
is the scene, this is what you got to do.
yep,
Go.
yep. And they say, and they're like, and I'm like, well, what's like? And they're like, yes, you have severe water intoxication, and you're stumbling across this highway, and a semi truck is coming, but you don't really see it till the very last second, and then you get hit, and you roll to the side of the road, and they think you're dead, but then the truck driver comes out, and he helps you up, and then when you try to talk to him, water comes spilling out of your mouth, and it fall over backwards, and I'm like, okay, okay, here we go.
And you just
I'm
do the
like, and I'm
scene.
like, water intoxication. Does that mean like I'm drunk? Yeah, basically, just act like you're drunk. Okay, I can do that.
Okay.
I've been there before.
Do you ever feel cringy doing that? Like you feel awkward because there's like how many people are in there watching you do a scene? Like two or three?
Usually for those back in the day, those in room auditions, there would be anywhere from like two to maybe five or so, six, something like that. So it's a small, but they're
Yeah.
very judgmental. It's like doing something in front of five people who are they're looking to pick you apart. They're looking for any mistake that not to hire you. So it's very nerve-wracking. It's very hard. I was horrible. I really was horrible at auditions most of the time. I get so nervous and overthink them and try too hard. And
Right.
um,
What would
I
their
mean, I've been
reactions be?
so many auditions. What?
What would their reactions be? So you would do it and would they be like, interesting? And then they just write down like notes and they'd be like, okay,
Yeah,
do it again. And then
yeah.
that they're like,
Sometimes exactly they would be. You could see maybe if they were thinking a little bit, and then they'd ask you to do something, do it again, but try this way. That's a good thing. If they just look at you and nod their head and give you like a half smile and say, okay, thank you for dropping by. We'll be in touch. And they slide it across, that's a bad thing. That's not a good thing. So,
so if you're in and out, that's bad. But if it lingers a little bit, that
it's
like they talk to you and tell you to keep
right.
doing it and doing it and doing it, that's a good sign.
That's usually a good sign. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but yeah, man, I'd have so many of them where I just felt like, and then I felt afterwards, I was like, oh man, that sucked so bad. Oh, what did I do that?
Yeah.
Yeah, like kicking yourself and stuff like that. But yeah, the funny thing is you kind of get to a point and this is when I was auditioning a lot. Like I don't audition that much anymore, so it's not the same way. You get to a point where you've been rejected so many times that you don't care so much. It's almost
Right.
like it's almost like you're like, yeah, okay, I probably won't get it. I'll get rejected, but you know what? I'm just gonna like have fun then, kind of. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? I'm not gonna stress so much because uh I stress out and then I get rejected anyways. So I might as well just kind of not care and just go in and you start getting kind of good at it to where the auditions they become more of like instead of thinking about like I'm going to get a job out of this, I almost started thinking of them as like their own thing. Like, oh, I get to audition. That's cool. I get to do this little performance, and then I would kind of feel good if I felt good about my performance, and if I didn't, I'd be like, it was just like another live show where I screwed up. So what? I'll
Yeah.
have another one. Come around, and you don't get too much. And at least me, like I wouldn't get too much invested in it at a point. I just got
Right.
to where I could just go and be consistent, doing a decent job, and then and then one comes along where you're like, that is mine, that is mine.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. I'm taking that one, and then those are the ones that you might get because now you have the experience. You don't feel so nervous, and you've got the passion to do it. Like you think you believe in it,
Mm-hmm.
and when those two things come together, that's when things start happening. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Not like
But if you
some
just
sort of like manifestation, like you manifested it. Like I see
right,
it, I believe it, it's mine. I'm gonna go in there and just
it's exactly what it is. And
right.
I mean, this is a popular thing right now, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's talking about this manifestation stuff,
Right.
and you got to visualize it and stuff. And um, I totally agree with that. I think it's true. When I was a kid, when I was growing up, you know, it was almost borderline heresy to kind of
Mhm.
believe something like that, because you're supposed to believe in God, and God will give it to you, and so you have to keep asking God.
Right.
Well, then that comes in. That turns into begging God. So pretty soon
Yeah.
now, you're spending a lot of time just begging and begging and begging God. And then you put on top of that, a lot of times we already kind of have negative self images, or we think we deal with self worth and self value, and then we don't think we're good enough. And
Mm-hmm.
so you put that together with this kind of desperate begging attitude, or frequency is now the hot term. When you put that together, uh, you don't have any success. You're kind of like guaranteed no.
Yeah,
So
it's kind of nasty too because you're just sitting there begging God,
yeah,
this or whatever your higher power is. You're just sitting there begging and begging
begging.
and begging, and like, what do you think is going through that higher power, or God? Like, well, go do it. Quit begging me. Go see it, believe it, and achieve it. I know that's a good
Oh
rhyme,
man, dude, that's
but
beautiful. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
like,
that's it. Really,
yeah.
that's simple.
Because what if
But
you're begging and you're just being stagnant? You're not. Well, why would I give it to you? You're not even doing anything. You're begging for
you're
me.
not
Well, you're not
doing.
even putting any effort.
Yep, yep.
Go put some effort in, and maybe I'll think
Right.
about it, or maybe I'll give you an opportunity. Or I've
Yep.
given you opportunities, and guess what? You're too lazy to do it, or you didn't take advantage of it when it was there.
Right. Or sometimes a little secret, we're just not good enough.
Yeah, yeah,
There's somebody out there who's better than us
right,
and deserves it more. And
yeah,
but that there's just like this time in my life where I got so angry because of that very thing. Because
yeah,
I felt like I felt like God, like all the things that people had told me, was not. It was I wouldn't say lies, but it wasn't it didn't really work, and it wasn't a very happy way to live either, both of them. And So I was very angry. I got real angry at that age of my life, and angry God, angry at uh, parents, I guess some, but mostly I think the religion that I
Yeah.
had been brought up in, um, and but I didn't express it to my family. Like I was not the kind of guy or the kind of kid, teenager, to be rebellious and like up in their face and challenging them. Um, I was more like, well, this doesn't feel good, and I don't like this, and it doesn't resonate with me, and I'm just gonna push it down and keep it repressed because either I'm wrong, either I'm really wrong, and I shouldn't say anything, or um, or it's just going to get a big reaction that I don't want from people that are close to me, you know.
Hmm.
So I just I just didn't express it. I just kind of a lot of my questions or my opinions or my views, I didn't express too much. And what happens is all of that will build up, you know, and it'll build up into anger or rage or something that has to be dealt with. Hold on, turn this light off.
Well, I totally agree with you on that because I kept my mouth shut for a long time and I had my questions and
Sorry, man. I'm trying
no,
to
you're fine. You're
do a
fine.
better mining job here.
I know you went to school for this. What's going on?
I know, right? I should be good at this.
No, it happened. No, but the more you just hold it in, I think the more damage it does between well, your personal self and then your relationship with God. Because I feel like God wants you to ask those good questions, like, "Hey, I don't agree with this. Why'd
Mhm.
you write it?"
Right,
Or expand on this. Because if you go to the human, well, no, that's what it says, so just do it. Or you shouldn't be
right.
thinking like that. Are you really? Is your faith really in? And then you're like, oh my gosh, then I'm in this huge hiatus. Like I'm going to hell, or I'm outcasted.
Mm,
So I totally agree with you.
yeah. Yeah, it can send you in a negative, bad direction of self-destruction because
Hmm.
of anger or what have you. And that's kind of the direction that I went. A lot of it's hormones at that time, I think too. But uh I went in that kind of direction. And um I realized recently in my life that I had a lot of fear in me, and I didn't realize I had so much fear in me. And that might be why I tried to do things that I thought were scary, because in a way I was trying to overcome this fear that was in me. And this fear that it was in me was a lot of it was from what I had been taught, you know, and um, when you're a kid in the system of Christianity that I came up in, um, at a very young age, you're taught a couple of things. You're taught that you're um, you're bad, that you're a sinner, and that you are uh, a bad boy. Basically, you're a bad boy inside. You're dirty inside, and
Hmm.
um, you 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 shouldn't really trust yourself. You know, and uh, you're also taught that that you're kind of the reason why this Son of God is crucified. You know, and you're also told that in fact, you're so bad that if you were to die right now, you would have to burn forever in hell. So
It's not
those three
appealing.
things, huh?
Yeah, I said that's
Those
not an
three,
appealing story, is it?
Well, no, I mean, you hear those three things as a child,
Yeah.
and for what it ended up doing to me was just put fear in me. But they think they are doing a good job because they think they're putting the fear of God in you, right? But they're putting the fear of yourself. You can't trust yourself. You're bad. Uh, you're putting the fear of God, but it's a fear of God that is not healthy. I don't think.
Mhm.
Um,
Right.
and so you're not, and you're told you can't question these things. You can't talk. You got to accept them. That's it. That's the bottom line. And um, if you don't, not only all these bad things happen, but you're not really going to be you're not really going to be one of the family. You know, and even if that isn't directly spoken to you, you you're pretty smart that you can figure it out. That, oh, I would really be like the black sheep of the family if I didn't get on board with this. And and I was also, I was taught to believe in this world um, of these like spirits, demons, that could come around and do things to you and mess with you and possess you and control you. And man, it scared the crap out of me, to be honest. And
Yeah.
I didn't really know how much it scared me because I think I just buried it so deep inside of me that I kept these fears like somewhere way down in me. And and I they 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 were a fuel that burned a lot of my actions in early life, or most of my life, I think. Um and I had to deal with that. I've had to deal with, coming to terms on stuff. Can you hear me pretty good?
Yeah, I hear you great.
Oh, good. Okay, because oh yeah, it's still plugged in. Never mind. Um, yeah, it was hard to figure out who I was because I felt like there are so many different versions of me, you
Hmm.
know, and and which one is the real me, and is it good or is it bad, you know?
Right.
Um, and so in going through that, we've done a lot of searching and stuff, and it's been hard, to be honest, because it's so deep ingrained in me, and I've had to, my whole life go, what do I believe? I mean, why do I believe what I believe? Just because I was born in this household in this part of the world at this
Hmm.
time in history,
Right.
is that why I believe what I believe? And if so, and that's really kind of why everybody believes what they believe, then one, how could anybody be blamed or judged on that? You know, like, we're a product of where we come from.
Yeah.
So I wanted to try and see, well, okay, I want to believe what I believe because that's my choice. And I think everybody should. And so it's hard to make that step because one, um, what you have been taught to believe is so very deeply embedded in me. And two, um, you know, you believe what you believe because you've either tried to figure it out in your head, or you believe what you believe because of maybe some experience that you have. I mean, that's usually it.
Hmm.
It's not so easy to simply just say I choose to this and I choose that.
Right.
There's reasons why we choose what we choose. So um, there's a lot of going to trying to figure things out in your head and trying to answer all of these questions from so different many different angles, you know. Um, and and then there's like, well, I've got to use my heart. It finally came to like this is where I got to go to.
Right.
I got to quit going to my head, and I got to quit trying to figure everything out, because that was my problem most of my life. I just wanted to figure everything out. Wanted to figure out which religion is the rightest and the best and the truest and has got it. And if it's Christianity, well, then which version of Christianity is it? You
Yeah.
know, um, because I didn't want to believe something just because that's where I came from. I
Yeah.
wanted to like it to be the real deal.
Yeah.
Um, so that's pretty difficult. And you get to a point where you're like, you could just you realize you could just go on and on forever trying to figure it out. At least for me, you know, it's just this endless thing, and it comes down to my heart now, and trusting my heart, you
Hmm.
know. And when I hear something, how does that resonate in my heart?
Right.
And if it doesn't resonate, but I'm being told it's true and I have to believe it or else, then I got to step back from it and I got to go, why? Why am I being forced to believe this? Why is it not resonating? What's going on here? And 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 you know, when you do that and you let go of it a little bit and you let go, you know, to surrender some of that to God. You know, big famous term now is universe, but I mean labels are labels. I don't really care. You
Right.
know,
Me either.
it's the intention, and I believe that's what God is all about, is our intention anyways. So he knows what our intention is in our heart whenever we say what we're saying. So if he says universe and it has the same vibration as when I say God coming out of his heart, then to me it's the same thing. God
Hmm.
God can figure that out, right? He's smart enough. I think they'll, you know, yeah, I know what they mean. You know?
Right.
But you know, it's like I was going to use a
Well,
stupid analogy.
well, no, like I agree with you. Do you think I'll ask you? Well, I'll say my point, and then I'll ask you this because this is what I've been feeling lately. But what you said with your heart, trusting with your heart, listening, remember the thief on the cross. Remember, everybody says, well, you got to repent. You got to do this. You've done all these bad things. You're terrible. All he said was, this man did nothing. We're the ones who were bad. He's like, will you remember me when you come into your kingdom today? And
Yeah,
then
beautiful,
what
beautiful.
did Jesus say? You will be with me in
With me
paradise.
in paradise.
He did nothing. He didn't
Beautiful.
work for anything. In his heart, he knew that this is my savior. This guy's the real deal.
Yep.
And Jesus didn't say, but you got to repent, buddy. Nothing like that. All
Well,
he
you know,
said
I used
was,
to think about that story and I'd be like,
yeah,
because you know, so many of the Christians are like, "Oh, Jesus, thank you for dying on the cross, so that I didn't have to." I mean, so
yeah,
this guy's up there praying the prayer, "Thank you, Jesus, for dying on the cross for me, so I didn't have to die." Oh, wait a
yeah,
second.
right,
Oh, I am dying on a cross.
yeah,
So you know, like it's just there's a lot that we are like kind of
right,
told to accept and believe.
yeah,
You know, there's one important scripture where Jesus, I used to be a lot better at knowing Bible verses. I should be better now being a pastor's kid, but um, there's the one where Jesus heals a man, and uh, he's in front of Pharisees who are watching him, who are are
oh, yeah,
nitpicking him,
right,
and he says to him, he goes, "Your sins are forgiven."
yeah,
Okay, the guy never asked for forgiveness for one.
mm-hmm,
They brought him there to be healed. And like the Pharisees, Jesus knows they're watching and he knows what they're thinking.
mm-hmm,
Blasphemy. You can't say that.
yeah,
Only God can forgive sins.
yeah,
Who are you?
yeah,
So Jesus says that right in front of all those people, tells this guy his sins are forgiven. The guy's probably like, "Oh, that's great, but what about my leg?"
yeah. So wait a minute, my leg,
Thank you, but
yeah,
and you know, and then Jesus goes, "Well." I know what you're thinking over there. Yeah, I can't forgive sins. That's blasphemy. Well, what do you think's harder, if I tell him to get up and walk, or if I forgive his sins? And
Hmm.
then he turns to the guy and tells him to get up and walk, and he walks. And I'm like, he just broke every rule in the book. And not only that, like, even not even that, he forgave sins before he ever died on the cross,
Yeah.
before he ever shed a drop of blood.
Yeah.
He forgave sins.
Yeah.
And I've asked about that, even my dad, and they come up with some gymnastic answer to make it all sound good. But
Right.
I'm like, the
Like
simple fact,
they'll use
is it
scripture to scripture to scripture to get to this scripture to get to this
right
point that ultimately leads to this point.
to the point that we want to make our point?
Right.
And I was like, the bottom line is, there's we put too many rules on God and what he can do and what
Yeah.
he can't do, and 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 what what is the means of salvation. Everybody's got their means, their rules of salvation,
Hmm.
and all of it comes down to the heart, man.
Yeah. Well,
The
that leads
heart.
me into the question, like, because it talks about the great falling away. Do you think that we've made it so overcomplicated that that's why people are turning away and like questioning God more and listening to, like simulation theory, dream theory, freaking, I don't know, all these other theories because we've made Christianity so overcomplicated. It's so complicated. There's something new, oh, I'm a prophet, or I'm a high priest, or I'm an apostle, or this, or you're not doing this right, so you'll never get to this point, or you're not going to be a king in eternity. I'm like, where are you reading this stuff? Like, and then I'm looking at my Bible, and like I'm scared to go to church sometimes. I like watching church online. There's so much new stuff out there. Then I'm just like, we're overcomplicating all this stuff. Like this
Right.
is so simple. Like Jesus said, it's so simple. A child can believe it.
Yeah.
And we've made it to like it's just too complicated. I don't know what's real. I don't know what's not real. There's new versions out there. There's new stuff. And I'm
Hmm.
just so confused by it that I'm like, I just got to trust him and my relationship with him, and however that goes, if it's
Hmm.
low, if it's high, whatever. But as long as it's my relationship with him and not the religion side, then I'll be just fine.
Hmm.
But
Yeah,
that's my
I
question to
think
you
you
is, do you
nailed it.
think we overcomplicated it?
No, without a doubt, without a doubt. But you know what? That's what men do. That's what we've always done. Is you know, the Pharisees. They were the religious guys at that time, and nobody questioned them, and they had God behind them, or they thought they had God behind them. They had the Bible behind them. They had doctrine. They had dogma. They had theology. They had studied the scriptures inside out, knew every which way to interpretate it. These guys, dude, that was their life,
Yeah,
man. That's all they did, right? They would make a lot of modern day preachers like look like idiots, probably, because they probably knew by heart their Torah.
everything.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And and here comes this dude that is like saying basically everything against them. You know, that is saying blasphemous things, that's not following their rule book, that's getting you know these terrible people to follow him. And you know then all of a sudden, you know Jesus changes the world, and it explodes. Christianity, didn't explode, but it starts to grow, and a few hundred years go by, and what happens again? The same story, just in the Old Testament, where we had God and we had the right. A few centuries, it takes a few centuries for whatever religion that God starts, for man to just start to like make it into his own false god.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, I've been told that the Bible that we have today is, you know, that's the Bible. And I'm like, who decided that, right? Who
Yeah.
says so? Well, these guys that were back here that were guided by the Holy Spirit. And I'm like, were they guided by the Holy Spirit or were they guided by the conquering politician that got them all together? Like, there's, and it's not that black and white. It's just not.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
the there was a lot of effort that went into trying to pick the books of the Bible. I mean, a lot of argument and a lot of this and a lot of going back and forth, and it took many years. But even to say that, like, how do we know still? Like, there wasn't some that was left out. Maybe that should have been in. Maybe some that's in there that shouldn't be. How do we know for absolutely? But because we're supposed to take that on faith that it's the Holy Spirit that directed it. But the Holy Spirit never forces anything. So man can always screw things up. There's
Right.
always room for him to screw things up.
Right.
And I think he does, basically. And I think religion has gone into into it's gone every possible, it's almost taken every possible route it can take. You know what I'm saying? It's branched into every possible branch. And it's like there's nowhere more to branch. And they say it's the great falling away. I don't know, man. Sometimes I wonder if we already had the great falling away. Maybe our thinking is so, it needs to be so much changed that what we think might be the great falling away, maybe God's actually doing the
Fixing
great
it.
calling in,
Right.
you know?
Yeah. And there's no way we're gonna know, like who wrote it.
No.
I mean, if you look at too, like not to get all conspiracy theorists, but the Vatican has so many books that nobody can even go in there. Like it's such high
Oh,
security.
yeah.
Like they said, we have some of the
Yeah.
oldest writings, this and that. The only
But they won't
thing,
share it.
no, they won't share it because there's something in there
There's
that they don't
control.
want us to know. Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
control. That's the bad part about religion. It's all control. And
Yeah.
if you look at some churches, man, they look culty sometimes. I mean, the big one that we talk about, like the Greg Locke. Like I don't care to call the guy out. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Do it,
like
man. Do it.
all, because the whole point
Yeah.
is like there's so much division and just what I've seen, I just don't agree with it. There's some other churches the same thing,
Yeah.
but we've lost touch of who we're supposed to be. We lost touch of where the story's supposed to go, the teachings,
Yes.
the
Yes.
love.
Amen, dude. I mean, one of the major things that Jesus preached against was being judgmental and judging.
Yeah,
And Christians and churches today, they're not only judging, they're not only just judging the world
yeah,
or the New Age or other religions. They're judging each other. They're
yeah,
judging other denominations and other Christians, and it's like the it's like how do you claim to worship and follow this man who preach against being judgmental and be so hypocritically judgmental, you know? And even if they sometimes, because Christians do a lot of good. They do a lot of good. They do
yeah,
have, I think they have a really good uh intentions. And I know because I grew up, I was around them my whole life, and I know these people inside and out, and I know where they're coming from. I know their intentions.
yeah,
But even with the intentions, there's still a lot of judgmentalism, that comes along with it. And that's what people feel, and that's what people will pick up on is that
yeah,
judgmentalism. And I don't know. I mean, even for me to say. even for me to call out other Christians and saying that they're not doing a good job is me being judgmental, you know?
Right.
So I've gotten to the point where I'm like, I leave it in God's hands. Like, you know, there's people that if they're looking for if they look like they're searching and they want to know like where I'm at, then I'll try to tell them, explain it. But I don't go around and try to force anything on anybody
Mhm.
or argue or try to say no, that's right and that's wrong, because who am I to say? God, I believe that God works through people's hearts in ways that we don't understand.
Right.
So
I agree 100%.
I believe a Buddhist can go to heaven, man, because I believe God sees the heart,
Hmm.
and that's what that's what's important. So whatever's going on in that heart, to me, that's why Jesus came, was because he came to a world that was like so dark, man. I
Right.
mean, the time he came and in the place he came, men's hearts were so dark. We say the world's getting worse, but dude, it was a common thing to walk down the street and see a guy agonizing, hanging from a cross. That was a
Yeah.
common thing. And soldiers going through the streets all the time, you know, bullying people. That was a common thing. Like the amount of fear and control that they lived under, you know, is crazy. So he came to that time and that place, and he did what he needed to do, and he gave the message that he needed. But if he were to go to a different time and he would have landed in Nepal or somewhere else to those type of people, would he have the message delivered in the same way? Because they're completely different
Right.
people with
Yeah.
completely different hearts. So I see it as maybe God has he's he's a big enough God. Maybe he's actually sending his message in a way that people need it. And I'm just like, look at the fruits, don't judge, and and um and and go on your journey, man. You know, do
Right.
your journey and do your thing. And if somebody is happy and they're living a good life and whatever, and they're being a pretty decent person, why do I need to go and try to convince them that they're going to hell? You know, Jesus said, I didn't come here to save the heal the
The
he said,
rich, the
yeah, he didn't come here for the healthy and the rich. He came here for the sick, right? That's the people he went to. Those are the ones that are searching, anyways. You know, somebody that's doing their thing, and if they're happy and they got their belief system and they're not hurting anybody else, then
yeah.
that's between you
Well,
and God. You
even
know,
even Jesus didn't try to convince anybody. He didn't try to
no,
convince. He didn't push. He
mm-mm.
didn't pressure. Well, even like that one guy. What was it? The story of the rich man. He's like, "Hey, how do I get to heaven?" And all these things. And then Jesus told him, "You need to
Right,
sell everything, do this and do that." And then he's like, "What? I don't know if I want to do that." You know, it's just paraphrasing at this point. But Jesus said, "Yeah, you need to sell everything and then give everything away and then follow me." And then he said, I don't think I could do that. And he said, well, that's pretty much it. Well, sorry, that's how you
yeah,
get there. And then the
yeah,
guy just went off, was sad because he didn't want to sell all his possessions and everything. But Jesus didn't do anything. He's like, that's your choice. I love you for that choice. You
hmm
know, just I love you for who you are. But if that's the choice you make, that's the choice you make.
that's a choice to make. Yep, he didn't
And that's what
condemn him.
people
You
don't
know,
understand is, they're like, how is God a loving God? And I get it. The hurricanes, the plagues, these cancer, these sick kids and stuff. But if you really think about it, like God is full of love because He doesn't interfere. If He did, it wouldn't
exactly,
it wouldn't it wouldn't
exactly.
be
Yep,
it wouldn't be a
yeah,
yeah. It's terrible, right? We wish He would interfere with
yep,
those things, but we
yeah,
would be under a rule and control. We're free to do what we want. We're free to think how we think. We're free to change our body. We're free to do
yeah.
this. Do I agree
Not
with it?
only,
No, but
not
He loves.
only that, not only that, they actually serve a purpose.
Mhm.
All that suffering serves a purpose. because we're supposed to experience the suffering so we know what is the good, right?
Yeah.
You know, we go we grow and we learn through mistakes. That's what
Yeah.
people do, um, and they're necessary. And they suck, but they're necessary.
Yeah. And to
And
add to that, people will say, well, God's not involved. He doesn't care. He doesn't care. Well, he uses us to show he cares. He uses us, his creation, to, hurricane comes, like the tornado in Bowling Green, right? The next day, there were thousands of people cutting down trees, clearing
mm,
debris, handing out free food, water, everything. You're not going to tell me that was in God's hand
mm,
over people,
right,
like touching people to say, "Hey, we need to come together as a community and help," or
right,
anytime anybody gets involved, and that's atheists, that's agnostics, Buddhists, whatever that is, they all come together, and that shows you what God's love is really like. That's
mm,
what we're for.
yeah.
So when we go through pain and we're like, "What, God? Why'd you give me all this pain? Like, this sucks. Like, I don't deserve
That's
this.
when
Why me? Why me?" Well, I put you through that pain because I knew you can handle it. So the next person that goes through it, you're right there to pick them back up.
yeah,
You know how to get through it.
right.
Congratulations. you know?
And so you can feel love, his love through other
Yeah.
people, and then you
Right.
can also return that to other people.
Right.
You
Yeah.
know, if there wasn't if there wasn't pain and suffering, um, we would not know the depths of love.
No,
It
because
just wouldn't be
everything's too
possible.
good.
Yeah,
Everything's too good. Everybody has it made. Everybody's loved already, but
right.
with pain and suffering, I mean, that's like your story. With your movies and everything you've been through. You went through a lot of pain, a lot of suffering, right? Spotlights out your window. You live in an RV, addiction to where you are now. You know what I mean? You went through all
Mm,
that, and then the success shows that where you're at now. Like, you went through it. Now you could teach, because you want your podcast. Now you could teach other
mm,
people, like, hey man, I went through it. Boom, boom, boom. Keep grinding, or follow this path. Follow this path, because we all have a
yeah.
purpose, no matter what it is.
Mm, amen.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah. I totally agree, man. I mean, the path the path I had to take to get here is probably not the path I would have picked if I could have picked, right?
right.
Um, and you know, and it's there's so many things along the path that are great too, even though it's not where you think you want to be yet. There's I look back at all these different points in my life where I was poor, I was struggling, but it was exciting. It was adventurous.
Hmm.
Um, and and it got me to where I am right now. And I've been blessed enough to have a wife who has supported me, um, and wasn't like, "What are you doing? You got to get a real job. Quit playing stuntman." And
Right.
not only supported me, but like she pushed me. She pushed me to go back to California when I wouldn't have gone. Um, we moved out to Georgia 10 years ago, and I was a successful live show stuntman. I was making $500 to $600 a day at that time doing live shows. Granted, I was working my butt off. I do 5 shows at Universal and drive all the way to Disneyland and do 2 shows
Right.
at Disneyland, and I do that every day. And you know, I'd be getting home at like midnight, and I'd usually have to get at Universal about 9 o'clock in the morning, and you just don't got much time to do anything else. So I wasn't hustling, uh, I wasn't meeting anybody, and I was stuck at this point in my life. But I was also, you know, 40 years old and going on 40, and I'm like, well, maybe that's just as far as I go with stunts. This is it. I did live shows. I got to do 14 different live shows through the years. I haven't met anybody that's done more than me yet, so kind of got that record so far.
There you
But
go.
um, I got so much experience because I did so many different types of live shows, and I was like, this is kind of a cool. This is blessed. This is kind of a neat thing, and
Yeah.
that might be the end of the road. Maybe it's another path. And we had heard that Atlanta was going to be like the next big place, and California is very competitive, very very competitive. It's really hard to get footwork to get a foothold there. So she said, and I talked to her about, well, what if we move out to Atlanta and I stop doing live shows altogether and I focus only on TV and movies.
Yeah.
And she was like, okay. And I'm like, but we may be broke.
Yeah.
Like we didn't have any savings either,
Yeah.
to move out with. We were we were going on paycheck to paycheck. And she's like, that's okay. And I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, I want you to, chase your dream. And so, but I said, I was afraid. I was like, I don't know, starting over. And then I worked hard to get where I'm at. And I said, well, you know what? This is what I'll do. I'll tell all of them that I'm going on a leave of absence. And most of the places would give you about a month before they take you off the roster and you're fired. I said, if in 1 month we don't, if I don't get a job or hopes of a job, I said, we're coming back. So we took off. We didn't bring very much with us except our two big dogs and whatever else we could fit in a Toyota Corolla.
Is that Moose? Is
That's
Moose one of those
Moose.
big?
That was
Okay.
Moose
What was the
and
other one?
Jazz. And
Jazz.
Moose is
Okay. Moose
100.
and Jazz.
For the ones that don't know, was 140 pounds at that time. Huge
Yeah.
Rottweiler Chow Lab mix and a Dalmatian. But we moved out there and I knew like two people. And I found out all the places to train and work out. And I had a list of what productions were going on. And I went personally to each production office, dropped stuff off, talked to them, would try to get the coordinator's information, and then I would contact the coordinator. And I did this for every day for a month. That was my job every day. And
With no
um,
savings, no
with no
savings, no
savings,
job.
no. The only money we were making is there was a Japanese website where you could rent to Japanese people that were visiting from Japan
Hmm.
and wanted to stay longer. So I subletted my apartment. I still had a lease on in California, which you're not supposed to do, but I did, and I made money. And then the car that I was leasing at the time, I left in LA, and I leased it out. So
Oh my goodness.
I was renting to total strangers on complete trust. But Japanese people are the most trustworthy people I've come across in my life, and so I didn't worry too much. And
Right.
they would wire the money, and we get just enough to go pay another week at the Motel 6 that we were staying at. And sure enough, dude, just about out of a month, I got an audition for the originals, and I had to get the audition. I had no choice. So I must have shot that thing 50 times, and it was like two lines, and it was, but I was watching every thing about it. I'm like, oh, that was, and I really do. Oh, that was, I mean, I did it so many times before I sent it in, but I ended up getting it and booking that, and it was only a couple of days, but that's a couple $1,000, you know,
Right.
and I was like, woohoo!
There
We can eat. We can party. We don't have to eat top ramen, anymore.
you
We
go.
can go to Waffle House and live large.
Heck yeah. Go splurge a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, so I got the originals job, and then right after that, I got me and my wife got on Mockingjay 2, the Hunger
Yeah.
Games, which was really the reason what she wanted to move down there. She wanted to be in Mocking. She wanted to be in Hunger Games. When
Right.
she saw the movie and she saw the girl with the bow and arrow, she wanted to be that like that. So she wanted to be in the movie. And I was like, and we watched that in LA. And I told her, I'm like, yeah, yeah, sure. She's like, no, we're gonna be in the next one. And I'm like, yeah, uh-huh, sure.
Yeah.
And sure enough, man,
You know, that was
we got on that.
so to
What's
add
that?
to the Hunger Games, that's when I met you. We went and saw the Hunger Games. I think we watched it with you.
Probably,
I think
yeah.
you came and I was dating Hannah, and then
We
we
went and watched it
watched it,
together.
and then I was like, "Which one's them?" Like whispering because I was super shy. I'm like, "These are like famous people, man. Like this is crazy. Like I don't want them to think I'm some weirdo." So I'm sitting there like, "Yeah, whatever. They ain't that famous, you know." Like sitting there, and she's like, "Oh, I think that was him. No, wait, that one. No, wait, that one. Nope, that's definitely him." I'm like, "Okay, I'm getting confused." I'm like, "Okay, okay, okay. I want to give this
Well,
guy
you know,
props."
we were part of this big crowd scene.
Yeah,
And so just a bunch of stunt people getting shot and beat up in fights. And it was just like this crazy fast moving camera. So, and the way they cut it and edited it all together, yeah, you couldn't tell who was who anyways. So
well, we rewatched.
I
We
had one
rewatched
good
and paused it.
scene where I was holding this little girl
Yes.
and it got cut from the movie though. Or,
No, it's in it. It's
well, it
it's
got
just
cut
a
really short.
yeah, it's a
Yeah,
split second.
split second. And it was like they were filming like this huge scene on the day. I thought, oh
Right.
man, I'm gonna have like a minute of time and on the movie, and they cut it down to like a second or something.
Right.
So yeah, but
It's so cool.
yeah, and so those were really big. Those were really big movies for me. Those are
Oh, I
big
bet.
breaks for me. Getting that job, and then I met a really cool coordinator from that who hired me, and then his brother started coordinating, and his brother would hire me, and I got to call the double Robert Redford on Walk in the Woods right after that, and
Right.
it was all because my hair matched his hair. That was
Nice.
really the only reason I got the job, because my hair was like exactly the right to match his hair. So, and it was supposed to be like 3 days, I think. And the main gag was me and this guy will be tethered together, and we have to roll down like probably about a 15 to 20 foot really steep incline, and then to the bottom. So that was like the big gag. But then the coordinator kept calling me up, and he's like, "Hey, there's this other guy I think you can double. Can you double him for a day?" And it's just a little simple driving thing. I'm like, yeah, yeah. Then it'd be like, well, we need somebody to just drive this golf cart with Robert Redford on the back of it, and um, um, Nick, the other big famous actor. It'll come to me in a second. Anyways, to drive them around in the scene. Can you do that? Yeah, I can do that. Oh, Robert Redford doesn't want to walk down the steep hill. Can you come work? Okay. He doesn't want to step through this window. Can you? Okay. Because I mean, he's going on 80, I think, at that time, or
Right.
in his 70s or something. So I got like all these days. So I made a lot of money on that movie. And
Right.
then the big stunt that we did at the very end, I ended up breaking my wrist on it. And I actually had to do it two more times with a broken wrist. But that's where I was like, okay, I feel like I earned all the rest of
Yeah.
that movie. At least now I can say, okay, I broke my wrist on it, so I don't feel so bad about making so much money doing like nothing. So
Right.
yeah,
You know which the show that like it shocked me that I didn't know you were in? Hannah and I both did. Well, we knew you were in it, but we didn't know where. Try to guess which one. TV show that really
uh,
shocked us. Just a guess. You don't have to be
it's a
accurate.
TV show. Okay,
TV
it's
show.
not
In
Walking
two
Dead.
in 2016. No, it's not Walking Dead.
Vampire Diaries.
No.
Um, I did like a bunch of little Revolution.
No. I'll give it to you though. It's Stranger Things.
Oh, Stranger Things.
Yeah,
Oh, you didn't know I
we
did
were
that?
yeah, no, I didn't know. Hannah said you were
Oh,
somewhere in there, and every episode, where is he? Where is he? Like trying to pick it up. Pause. Is that him? No, that guy's too fat. Is it that him? No. And then finally, like it was so cool. But
I was in the
you're,
first season.
yeah, you were in the first season, and then you were the agent with the
Uh-huh.
same mustache you got
With the
right
same
now.
mustache I got now, yeah.
And when you went, I was like, there, right there. I was like freaking standing. I was like, let's go. And then I was watching it,
I
and
had
you
a
get,
lot of screen time on that too.
yeah, you did.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, this is awesome." I was just like starstruck. I was like, "No way." He said something. You know, he got smacked. You know?
Yeah, I got hit on the back of the head. The scene where, yeah, because the kids are hiding in the school bus,
Yeah.
and I'm looking for them
Yeah.
everywhere, and there's a school bus, and then open the door, and just as I'm right to peek in to find
Yeah.
them, the sheriff guy comes up and hits me on the back of the head. Yeah, yeah, that was a fun. That dude, when I filmed that, we had
Yeah.
no idea. That was like we thought, oh, this is just some stupid kids TV show, right? That's all I thought. I'm like, this
Oh,
nobody's gonna
really?
watch this. Nobody's gonna know what this is. Oh yeah. I'm like Stranger Things is even like a stupid name. Like,
Now it's a huge show.
now it's like it's it's blown up. I gotta be in a few more episodes where I was doing some driving or I played like a security cop that had to drag the mom down the hall and stuff like that. So
Right. Did you I know I jumped really fast into this, but I just want to talk about a few of your movies you were in and what you did in them because I always wanted to know. So, like in Captain America, did you do that with Chris Evans and stuff like that? And Civil
so
War?
yeah, the scene I'm in is if you remember that movie, I think it was supposed to be like an African embassy that was getting under attack um by these like militia group. Um
Right.
and we were all like in black tactical gear. So
Okay.
we come busting through the walls and then coming out of the back of the truck, and we're in like a gun fight with them, and I'm like dodging behind this vehicle, and then the witch, the red witch, the
Oh, Scarlet. Scarlet.
Scarlet,
What was her name before that? It wasn't Scarlet Witch, was it? Yeah, it was. It's
was
Scarlet
it?
Witch.
I think
I think
so.
so.
Yeah, she comes out and she does her little thing and grabs me, with her magic and lifts me up and then like tosses me, and then the Falcon guy comes in and like hits me and I go flying to the ground. Boom. Yeah.
That's so awesome, man. What's it
But I'm
like
in like this
working?
black tactical with a balaclava and all this stuff. So I mean you can't tell
You
it's me, but
can't really
that was
tell,
me.
but
Yeah.
was it cool to work with Chris Evans and what was her name? Elizabeth Olsen? Was it pretty
You
cool to
know,
work with?
I didn't really see Chris Evans on that set because that whole scene was it's called second unit. So I
Okay.
only worked with his stunt doubles that whole day. So I never worked with him on that movie in person. But I did work with him in person on Knives Out. I got to be there
Yeah.
with him on that. So, and that was interesting because he was not all buffed up at that time. And I remember because I was sitting in the hair and makeup trailer with him, like a couple chairs down, because I was doubling Daniel Craig for that
Yeah.
show. So they're, making me up to look like Daniel Craig. And I'm just kind of looking at him out of the corner of my eye and I'm thinking, he ain't so big. I'm
Yeah.
like looking at my arms and comparing them, like
Yeah.
Captain America, and he ain't so
Yeah.
big.
Is it
He was a
crazy though
nice
to sit
he
and
was a
you're like,
nice guy.
that's Captain America.
Yeah. He was cool. He was pretty quiet actually on that set. Pretty to himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Did
He
you
was he
so
was
I
cool.
had a question like so the Daniel Craig, did you just double him in Knives Out or didn't you do 007?
I did not. I wish. I wish.
I
I
thought
would
you
that
did
would have been a dream.
007. It was just
No.
the Knives Out.
I doubled him on Knives Out for some little driving thing, and then I doubled him in Logan Lucky. as well.
Okay, okay.
And that's
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 I think
the
that's what I was thinking about.
that racing kind of comedy with Adam Driver was in
Yeah.
it. So we had to do this scene where we're escaping from prison and we go into a laundry chute and go down the laundry chute and then fly out the other end and then land in a dumpster. So I doubled him for all that whole little thing.
And then how was working on the Conjuring?
The
You did that in
Conjuring. Oh,
2021.
yeah, yeah, that was cool actually. I was doubling, I doubled Patrick
Patrick
um
Wilson.
Wilson on that. Yeah. And it was fun because there was a scene where they're in this like dark room. I think they're in the dungeon below this mill, and they got to kind of like fight their way through to the altar to destroy the altar. Um, so he's a really pretty physically talented guy. So I was there to double him, but I would pretty much just block it out for him, do
Right.
all the moves, and then he would come to set, and I would show him everything that we do, and then you just ask him if you got any questions, feel comfortable with it, and I'll step in at any time, but it's your thing, so whatever. So he ended up doing pretty much everything. So
Gotcha.
pretty much most of the stuff on camera is him. But yeah, it was cool. It was a creepy set. Like
Was it scary to go
yeah.
to the bathroom on set because you didn't know if the freaking
Well, I had to I had to break a satanic altar because they were doing close-ups. So so he swings a sledgehammer to break this satanic altar. And so instead of using him because it was mostly close-ups, they had me. So it was like this a real kind of satanic stone altar,
yeah,
and they're like, just get in, just crush it, man, just get in there and hit that thing, break it. And so and they had several of them. So they would bring one in and they do like slow motion shots and all kinds of different angles. And like half the day I was just swinging a sledgehammer, breaking satanic altar after satanic altar, smashing. I remember like my mom asked me like, so how's work going? What are you doing today? And I'm like, oh, well, I've been the whole morning smashing satanic altars. And she's like, what?
oh my gosh,
But
that's pretty cool.
yeah,
Was
it was just fun. It was cool.
was it
The cool part was I got to drive Dublin for driving this old like Chevy Nova that was like really cool car, but
right?
it was a piece of crap, dude. I mean, it looked cool, but it didn't run good at all. And they wanted me to drive by. It was they had this like cul-de-sac like rented for the day, blocked off. So they had this camera shot, and they wanted me to just fly by camera, doing like 95 or 100. And this cul-de-sac was like, if it was a half a mile long, I don't even think it was that long. So man, you would start way at one end and you just gas it,
Punch
and
it.
you would hold that I would hold that pedal down until like I was old, because it would take me almost that long to get up to that speed in that car, and just hold it down and fly past camera. And as soon as I got past camera, you're like slamming on the brakes to stop, at the end of the
Right.
street, and then do it again. And then the car would die after every take, and they'd have to like come and work on it and try to get it going again. And every take it was like getting worse and worse, and then it was getting dark, and then they had to move to a second location to do the where he comes in. So it had to come in on this dirt road and like kind of slide and drift around a corner and then come hauling in and like hit the brakes and like slide to a stop. And they had this camera mounted on this crane like at this spot where my headlight is supposed to like end right in frame. So it
Right.
was a really close shot, and it's a very expensive camera. But it was dark and it was raining, so the 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 windshield kept fogging up on me, and the defogger, the defrost, whatever you want to call it, it didn't work. So I would be wiping the window, and the windshield wipers would like wipe once like every 20 seconds, and you're like trying to see, and they're like, okay, you got to, and it's dark, and you got to come around and slide on this dirt road, and then you got to hit this mark. But if you go long and you hit the camera, um, you're fired, basically.
Oh man.
So I'm like, okay, so yeah, it was a lot of tension, a lot of pressure, but uh, ended up doing it, and thank you. I didn't break the camera,
Yeah.
and they liked the shot, and it went well. It was exciting, but it was less stress that night too.
Man.
Uh,
Well, I know it's getting late, but I do want to like closing, unless you got more stuff you want to talk about. But Loki. Hannah and
hmm.
I recently watched Loki. When I found out you were in it, of course I looked for you as best as I could in there. But I didn't see you. But I wanted to know what it was like working on Loki. Was like, did you get to work with Tom Hiddleston and stuff like that?
Yeah, so yeah, I mean, dude, I got tons of stories, so we can
Okay.
do this. We can do this again. You know me, anytime.
Okay.
We can. We got. I got so many. So um, Loki, yeah, Loki was a fun show, a fun shoot. And we had, I think me and my wife both worked on it actually.
Right.
We both worked on it for a week, and uh, it was a scene. And I don't have very good memory, and people ask me stuff all the time. All I know is the scene. We were like supposed to be on some planet that was about to get destroyed um, by like
Okay.
meteors or something like that. We were like in this village, right? And
Uh-huh.
everybody's is trying to get on these trains, I think, or these transport things to leave the planet, right? So, um,
Oh,
so
yeah.
basically,
That's you were filming that towards the end of the season, right? Was that the
yeah,
season finale? I think it was. I can't remember.
it was close to the end, I think.
Okay,
Yeah,
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
yeah,
the transports. Okay.
and so just so for most of like me and one other guy, we had blocked out a fight scene because we were supposed to look like we're fighting in the background to get on this thing. So we blocked out this fight scene and we would do it in the background, you know, while the main actors were doing their lines
Right.
and saying all their stuff. So um, you can see I'm like in there, but I'm in the back, fighting this guy, and then we're supposed to watch we're supposed to watch the thing take off. I think without us. That was the that was the ending shot. So we're all like looking at the camera, pretending that the spaceship is leaving. We're like, "Oh God, no! There's my whole life. I'm stuck on this planet." That kind of thing. But
Right.
um, he was um, he was cool. He was actually fun. He was funny too. Like he would talk to the stunt people and the extras. He would treat them like people, and he'd tell them jokes lots of times. I remember between takes he would tell jokes, and
Right.
he liked to dance. I remember that. Like he would do little dance steps and little dance moves between takes and kind of entertain everybody that was, around, the extras and stuff that were on set. And, um, yeah, he was a really cool guy. He was neat. I
Yeah.
liked him. He was one of the
Well, that's
one of the
cool.
ones I worked. One of the big actors I worked with that you can tell what kind of people they are by the way they treat extras and
Yeah.
stunt people,
I could
because that's
imagine.
that's the bottom of the pool. That's the low end. And people think stunt people are like up here. We're not. I mean, on set, we get paid a lot more than like an extra, but they still kind of think of us as tools, basically.
Right.
So yeah, he was cool. He would talk to people and joke around and entertain,
Right.
and okay, that's a person who's got some character, because he's getting nothing out of this.
Yeah.
He's just doing it because he's enjoying it and cares about these people. They're
Yeah.
bored, so he's entertaining them. So,
Well, I mean, I used to think Loki. I didn't like Loki as a character. Like he was a fun villain, but that show, have you seen all of it?
I haven't seen all the second season
Oh,
yet.
you got to watch it, man.
Okay.
It's
All
so
right.
good. I won't spoil anything, but just watching him in that show, Loki's one of my favorite villains for sure. Made me buy into it. His character, the character development, just the whole thing
Hmm.
was awesome, and it was
Right.
cool to see Loki's story in that. I don't know if they'll
Yeah.
make a third season. I don't know how they do that, but it was awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. You're right. He's an interesting character because he, like in all the movies, he did a pretty good job of playing like this two-faced like
Yeah,
creep, you know.
yeah,
And then he goes through this transformation, and you find out that he actually does. He actually has a heart, you know,
yeah.
and a
Oh,
little bit
it's
of a
so good,
conscience.
man.
So
It's
yeah.
so good. You gotta watch the second season, man, because his character goes like really develops. It's really good. And
Mm.
then, but any closing statements from you? I know we talked a while, but is there anything you wanted to ask me or anything
How,
you wanted to cover?
how long have we been going? Just curious.
I don't know.
No.
I
Okay.
think it's been a while. I think we started at like 3:45 and it's 6:06 my time.
Oh yeah, we've been going a while.
But
um, no, I mean, really, yeah, man. I just really enjoy and really enjoyed it, and
yeah, me too.
really thank you for asking me to do this.
Yeah,
You know, that's always cool when somebody is interested in what you do, and you know, well, I hope people find it interesting, and if so, I'm gonna possibly start doing my own podcast
right.
pretty
And what
soon.
do you have a name for it
Um,
yet?
I've been throwing around. I've been throwing around the philosophical fall guy.
Oh, there you go. I like that. That's a good name. The philosophical fall guy. There you go.
Yeah,
That's a good
yeah,
name. I actually like that.
yeah. Our
What
fall guy, our fall guy philosophy.
fall guy philosophy. So you
Which
could
one
talk
has a
about
better
your
ring?
stunts, and then you could talk about some deep stuff, and then
Right. Yeah.
go back to
Exactly.
the stunts. That's
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
I don't have a name for mine. I know like it says one more round, right? I was gonna tie it into with like UFC stuff so I can make UFC videos because I like
Oh
covering
yeah,
that.
that's a good idea. Yeah, that's
But
cool.
I don't really have a name yet that has. I was just gonna use my name instead of the Scott Arndt Show, or I don't know yet. I have no idea, but I got plenty of time to think about it. But so you're gonna start your podcast. I'm
Well, what
sure you're.
about aren't you interested?
Hey, that's a good one. I'm taking it right now. Aren't you interested? That's awesome. There you go. If I make money, I'll give you some money for that.
Or aren't you curious?
Aren't you curious? Yeah, I'm giving you some money. I'll trademark it, put it on there, and give you some money if this starts making
It's
money on.
yours, man. It's all yours. It's all
Um,
yours.
but so I know you got some more stuff coming up. I know your newest one. It seems to be you were in Echo, the new Marvel show. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool. I know you
Yeah.
said you got some auditions coming up. And then where can people mainly find you to keep up with your story? Do you have Instagram? Do you have Facebook, YouTube?
Uh, no, I quit Facebook 4 years ago, 5 years ago. I don't know, and I
Okay.
haven't been back on. I have some Instagram accounts that I haven't kept up. Basically, through this whole COVID and the strike stuff, I
Got
just
rid of
didn't
it
want
all.
anything to do with social media. But I am going to maybe start doing some more stuff on my Instagram.
Okay.
So my and I have to look. I have to see. I have to remember what my Instagram is. Um,
Well, I can whenever you figure that out, I can put it in the description on where to find you, and then we'll
okay,
put a link to it so they can see all the stuff you're working on.
cool.
But
So
but
the one I just pulled up is Duke.Jackson 3.
okay.
What it
So
says. Yeah.
Duke Jackson dot three, or is it what is it
Yeah.
again?
Duke.Jackson 3.
Okay. So that's where you could
So
find Duke if you guys want to keep up with him. see what he's working on. Also, I'll give you some updates. And look out for his podcast when I know it's been created, his first episode, or whenever I'll put
Oh,
a shout out.
and I do have stuff on YouTube too. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So what
Yeah.
is it? Just Duke Jackson?
Yeah, just Duke Jackson. If you put stunts in there too, it'll probably definitely bring me up.
Okay.
But yeah, they should be able to find me pretty easy. Yeah.
Well, there you go. If you guys want to see his reels, go on reels or videos. Go to Duke Jackson on YouTube, and then
Or
we'll
IMDb.
yeah, or IMDb, so you can see everything he's in. So didn't make any of this up. He's awesome. He's a great person. Thank you, Duke, for coming on and chatting with me for the first episode. Not a lot of structure to it, but man, I enjoyed every minute of it. I think it flowed good, and I think we moved in between details very well. It was nice. I really
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I think it was very organic,
Yeah.
and I enjoyed it
Yeah.
too, man. I thank you for having me. That was a
Yeah.
pleasure. That was
Yeah,
fun,
man.
man. That was
All
awesome.
right. Well, until next time, because I'm sure we'll be on here again. So we'll end it now. So
All right.
have a good night, Duke. Thanks,
All right.
man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Scott. All right.
Yep.
Love you guys.
Love you, man. We'll see you.
Bye.
Bye.